don't want to buy anymore, or they can't. We're going to become increasingly a nation of renters. People are rich enough to rent, as Michael Weiner says. What is this all about? Does this fit in with the by 2030 you'll own nothing and be happy? Can't imagine that's going to be everybody, but a lot of people. Build to rent. You gotta hear about this tonight, folks. And the planned communities that are popping up everywhere that are rent-based. Here is Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway invests nearly $1 billion in home-building giants. Huh. What does he know? He's known, what is he called, the Oracle of Omaha? He's known, his company is, his hedge fund or whatever he's got there, is known for making great decisions. What does he know? Let's talk tonight also with Robert Spencer about the shooting in Minneapolis. That guy, that's part of the red-green axis, the Islamist and the Marxist. But I also want to play this for you. The son of Hamas, boy, he went to town. I think this was over in the UK, about the Palestinians and the truth. And he ought to know his father was one of the founders of Hamas. You got to see this clip tonight. I want to talk about that with Robert Spencer and more with Robert. Are we headed for a civil war? Are we already in a civil war? I say yes, and I said yes in my documentary, December 2019. It's in the introduction to the documentary. What does that look like? I want to have on tonight retired Navy commander and PhD, Dr. Randy Arrington, because he thinks we're in a civil war already. And you got guys like this character from Chicago, the mayor of Chicago, and you got others like Newsom, and a lot of the Democrats. Basically, sounds like to me they're fanning the flames for a civil war. And then you add in the jihadis. And I got a video tonight I want to play for you where one lady is saying rape is an acceptable part. Here we go. Muslim Brotherhood TV host explains under what circumstances Christian girls can be raped. Quote, Allah allows Muslim men to rape non-Muslim women to humiliate them, end quote. Well, the jihadis are calling for civil war, revolution, jihad. The Islamists are, the Marxists, they want an uprising, the red-green axis. It all seems to be leading us toward somewhere I don't want to see our country go. But that appears to be what's happening, folks. Oh, let's see what else we have tonight. France tells its hospitals to be ready, war ready, by March of 2026. We'll talk to Leo about that. 60%, more than 60% of American Gen Z support Hamas over Israel. Whew. Man. I mean, these are just a few of the things we got to get to tonight. How about this one? What is in Doritos? And here's a question for you. Why is it when you start eating junk food, you just crave more junk food? What is it that makes junk food so addictive? And, of course, we got to talk tonight about the fact that we now have, we've had a strike. We have had a Venezuelan drug ship hit today by our military. President Trump announced that today and released the video. What is going on in Venezuela? Is it really about drugs, or is there something more going on there? Because we know Hezbollah, that's Iran, China, and China, Iran, a lot of other countries are there. Is this more than about just drugs? Oh, we got a lot to get to tonight. Hey, how was your weekend, by the way? I mentioned it on radio today, and I enjoyed my 4 days off. You know what I did? I moved 6.4 tons of creek rock. Yeah, I moved 6.4 tons of creek rock. I'm pretty proud of that. I'm not so sure I could have done that a few months ago, to be honest with you. But I've gotten off all sugar. My average glucose now for the last week has been, I think it's, let me check it, 106. That's way down. And I've cut out a lot of sugar, and I'm doing more exercising, but I don't like going to the gym. That's boring. I got to do something physical to get something done. So I needed to bring in some river rock around my house, upgrade the landscaping a little bit. 6.4 tons I've moved thus far, and more to go. So there you go. And I attribute a lot of this myself, by the way, to my Numi, my Galatana, my Bella Grace. But I really had a great time moving river rock. In fact, let me tell you something, folks. All of this stuff I take has not only helped me, but look at this right here. That is my gorgeous wife. I snapped a picture of her over the weekend, sitting across from me. We were having a meal. Does that look like a grandmother to you guys in there? Does that look like a grandmother? That lady is a grandmother. That's my gorgeous wife, Melissa. And why are you laughing, Tommy? You think it's funny? Oh, he thinks it's funny. I'm just talking about her on the show like this? Well, she is beautiful. And she is a grandmother. But I have to ask a question. How is it that this lady is getting more beautiful by the month? Well, I'm not kidding you, folks. This wife of mine says she thinks it has a lot to do with what she takes too, which is the Bella Grace, the Galatana, the Numi. So if you're like, what is she doing? I want to know. What's her secret? I'll tell you. She's taking that Bella Grace every day. You can find all of this at Melissa House. No, let's see. Well, you could go to melissahousebg.com. Yeah, for Bella Grace, melissahousebg.com. She's also like me. She does the Galatana, the phytoplankton every day. You can get that at melissahousegpa.com. I got a lower third for that. melissahousegpa.com. Did I say I have a lower third for that? There it is. It's coming up. That's a hint to the boys in the control room. Yeah, there it is. And then she also does the Numi. She does the Numi, which detoxes her cells. Look at that, swishforlife.com. Now, you're like, I can't remember all those, House. Well, you know what you could do? You could just go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Look how fast they are. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Because these are 3 things that she does. But anyway, I had to send this to a few of my friends this weekend. I said, can you believe she's a grandmother? And I'm telling you right now, look at her hair, by the way. Look at my hair. You go back and look at pictures of me from a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I did not have hair this thick. The hair is actually coming down lower on my forehead and growing in. That's that Galatana with that glutathione. No, the Galatana with the collagen. Sorry. No, the Bella Grace. Let me fix that. That's, I think, the Bella Grace with the collagen. The collagen. That's what's causing that. My hair growth is amazing. But also, I think you combine it with everything else because good health, well, that's going to encourage lots of things. So I think it's a collection of everything that I'm doing. So anyway, I thought I would just point that out. This beautiful lady, my wife, a grandmother, how is it she looks that good? Well, I asked her. I said, how are you looking so good? Staying so young? She said, I'm convinced it's the Bella Grace, the Numi, the Galatana, the stuff we're doing that you're doing. So there you go. I mean, I don't look like a grandfather, do I, guys? Thomas says I look like a great-grandfather. All right. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Thomas. All right. There you go. Did you find a picture of me before Bella Grace? Where is it? All right. Is this a joke? Oh, yes. There's that's before Bella Grace and Numi and Galatana. That's right. Boy, you guys are really fast. No wonder you were so slow on the lower thirds in there. You guys were cooking that up, weren't you? That's when I went on the air without my toupee one night. I do not have a toupee. Logan, can you testify to that fact? That was AI. By the way, Thomas says, no, it wasn't. Do you want to come out here and pull on my hair, Thomas?
I'll take your word for it.
All right. Do you know, I know some very, very famous people that wear toupees?
Gotta leak it.
Oh, I know 1 or 2. The audience would probably be really shocked. I think 1 or 2 of them are pretty obvious, to be honest with you. But I know one guy that had a toupee, and if I said his name, a lot of the audience would know him, and they'd be shocked. And I was told by a dear friend of his that his children were never allowed to discuss it. Now, if I had a toupee, I would have that same rule. Right, Logan? But I don't have that rule because I don't have a toupee, and I let you just do that to me. So clearly I don't have one. I don't need a toupee. Praise the Lord. I have to tell you, there are times I say, Lord, thank you for letting me have a head of hair. I mean, what would I care if I was a baseball player or a brain surgeon or a dentist? I don't really need hair. But if you're going to be a news guy on television, it'd be nice to have some hair, wouldn't it? So I thank the Lord that I have a full head of hair. But I have to also thank the Lord for bringing along Bella Grace. All right, show me that picture one more time before Numi. And there you go. That almost looks like a little like Prince William, doesn't it? Prince William. Anyway, someone's taking a picture of that. It's going to go viral. Did you guys know he wears a toupee? We'll be knocking that lie down. All right, get your Bella Grace, get it all, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. I think the guys in the control room were missing me. Did you guys miss me when you were gone for 4 days? Huh?
We didn't know what else to do.
You didn't know what else to do. All right, well, we're back, we're rested, and we're ready to go, so let's do it. All right, joining me now is Leo Hohmann. Leo, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brannon. Good to be here.
What a big weekend. We have so many things to talk about with you, Leo. What a big weekend. President Trump finally did what a lot of us have wanted, and that is to get on the right side of this warp speed. I was stunned and I was shocked. And good for President Trump. Let's hope he gets to the bottom of it. But here's what he put out on Truth Social. It's very important that the drug companies justify the success of their various COVID drugs. Many people think they are a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree. With CDC being ripped apart over this question, I want the answer and I want it now. I've been shown information from Pfizer and others that it's extraordinary, but they never seem to show those results to the public. Why not? They go off to the next hunt and let everyone rip themselves apart, including Bobby Kennedy Jr. and the CDC, trying to figure out the success or failure of the drug companies' COVID work. They show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. I want them to show them now, the CDC and the public, and clear up this mess, one way or the other. I hope Operation Warp Speed was brilliant, as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Well, last week he was praising it from the Oval Office. He's done it many times to the chagrin of his own MAGA base. And now someone has penetrated the veil and gotten to him with something. Now, I'm just going to speculate. Could it be the swollen ankles, the bruise on the hand? I don't know what all that's going on with our dear leader. We should pray for him and his health. But did he get the shot? Is he suffering from health consequences from getting the COVID shot? Is this why he's now on to this? Someone said, hey, Mr. President, did you have the COVID shot? Oh, boy. I have no idea. All I can do is speculate at this point. Something has happened to turn President Trump from praising warp speed last week to this tweet over the holiday weekend. What do you make of it, Leo?
I wish I was a fly on the wall like you, Brannon, to know, but, we really have no way of knowing what's going on here. If you break that down, before we get too excited, what he really seems to be saying there is, okay, I have some questions now. I'm hearing this from one side. I'm hearing that from the other. And we need to study it and get to the bottom of it. So basically, he's come to the conclusion that there's discrepancies. Until now, it was all one-sided. It was great. It was the most greatest human achievement in the history of mankind. And now he's saying, well, wait a minute. We got this other side over here saying that there's problems. I want to get to the truth of it. So he's ordered a study, basically. Now, so, we need to pray that he gets an honest study. And not one that, one of the problems with this administration, I think you would probably agree, Brannon, has been that there's been precious few advisors willing to speak the truth to President Trump when it's an uncomfortable truth. Okay.
Mhm.
So this is just one example. He's been touting the Operation Warp Speed for 5 years almost as, this great accomplishment, the crowning achievement of his first administration. And so he's a very strong leader with very strong opinions that are very public. It takes great courage for somebody in his circle, his inner circle, to now approach him, whether it's Bobby Kennedy or whoever, and say, you know what, Mr. President, this is not exactly as you see it. So will he get an honest study, or will this be the beginning of the takedown, not just of the COVID shots? Okay, that's just one issue, but I think we want to see the end of all mRNA injections.
Mm-hmm.
And so, even as we're seeing the president now for the first time publicly, 4.5 years after the fact, questioning the efficacy and the safety of the COVID mRNA injections, you have the FDA having approved 4 new ones, so this is a much bigger problem now than just the COVID injections. I'm glad to see the president is coming to the conclusion that possibly he was lied to, possibly he was not given the truth and the straight story about these injections that were supposedly wonderfully preventing people from getting COVID. But now it's much bigger than that. We've got all these other shots out there for the flu and what have you. RSV, they've been experimenting with an mRNA shot for that. It's never ending. These pharmaceuticals, they've got a whole lineup of shots in the tank ready to roll out to the public that contain, the mRNA. Some people would call it gene therapy type of medication.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to a clip here. News Nation did a really interesting clip the other night. We did 2 or 3 shows, I did, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, on all the false flag operations carried out by our own government on the American people. And one of them was what was done to folks in St. Louis. Now News Nation's gotten on it. I think this is appropriate to play tonight, because I think when all's said and done, history will remember the COVID shot as a military Operation Warp Speed, a military operation, and a false flag, if you mean by false flag, the government pulling something on the American people under, deception, right? I think under other excuses, or we're protecting you, we're helping you, or whatever. I think history will remember Warp Speed as the wicked, horrendous federal government that we have today, carrying out mass murder of its own people. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, on a global scale, right? I mean,
17 million dead just here in the U.S., according to Nick Helser and others, more than World War I, World War II, and Vietnam put together. Wasn't that the graphic he showed us?
I think the official figure is that 80% of Americans got at least one of those shots, Brannon. 80%. And it was 90% or more in the UK, France, Germany, and many of these other allied countries. Israel as well was mandating the shots. And so this was a global attack on humanity emanating from money, profit-oriented pharmaceutical companies in league with the federal government. As you pointed out, a lot of the research, for the early research at least, goes back to DARPA and the Department of Defense. President Trump admitted himself just last week, as you alluded, that it was largely a military operation, from the early research to the distribution and the entire thing. So, I would love to see the full truth come out on this, Brannon, and the American people I think they would be shocked if they knew the full truth of how deeply our government was involved in this. I mean, they even owned part of Moderna, the U.S. federal government. They had royalties coming in to the federal government for every vaccine that was sold. So the government even made money off of it. So yeah, whether it was just profit motivated and bad science that made good business sense, or whether there was some darker motive of depopulation, I don't know, Brannon, but I do know that it's killed a lot of people. It's injured even more. We all know people in our inner circles, family members, friends who've been affected by this thing. So I think the pressure was just getting too intense for President Trump to ignore it any longer. And like I said, I hope he gets some real honest information when he's doing the right thing now by ordering a study.
Now, let's go to this News Nation clip, because again, I think it shows the history of the government of America poisoning its own people. And this is just one of dozens of documented, factual such cases. You go into the vault, if you're a vault member, worldviewtube.com/vault, put in false flag operations. Watch the 2 or 3 TV shows I did last year or a year before, showing you all the historical facts of all of the false flag operations where the government was poisoning and killing our own people as experiments. Watch this from News Nation, just released.
Tell me they've been getting sick, some of them with rare cancers. And they're
Let me back it up. I want to start from the beginning. Here we go.
In the name of preparing for the Soviet threat, the U.S. government conducting human experiments on its own people, unwitting Americans without their knowledge or consent. Children, some of them orphans, were fed radioactive oatmeal. They were told they were joining a science club, promised a quart of milk a day, a trip to the beach. Years later, they testified about the after effects, reporting lumps on my arms, my stomach. And then in Tennessee and California, pregnant women were given a radioactive cocktail at top universities to see how it crossed the placenta to their unborn babies, some later suffering miscarriages, illness, and cancer. These are not conspiracy theories. They are documented government experiments. And now at News Nation, we are asking, what were they doing in St. Louis? I went on the ground as residents tell me about a mysterious fog sprayed through their neighborhood when they were kids. A fog that moved like a ghost, clung to their skin, and settled over more than 10,000 Americans who lived there.
They didn't ask for our permission. We didn't ask for them to spray us. My government used me like I was a guinea pig.
They're waiting us out. They're waiting on all of us to die.
The U.S. Army now admits they sprayed a chemical containing cadmium, a known carcinogen, but they do not admit harm. Residents tell me they've been getting sick, some of them with rare cancers, and they're asking, was there anything else in that spray? I investigated what was in that fog and why the truth may still be buried. The fog drifted through the streets like a ghost.
That's exactly what it looked like, a thick fog.
It was summertime and it was hot. We would just run through it as fast as we could and try to just cool ourselves off. It stuck to you.
The spray was so foul as far as the odor. It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
That's what I remember. It made me sick.
It wasn't the weather. It was an eerie smoke descending from rooftops, rolling from the backs of trucks.
Regular flatbed truck, but it had a big machine on the back. And it had a big nozzle that really sprayed a fog you couldn't even see through. It was that thick. And it really, we felt it as it would adhere to our skin. And as far as the guys on top of the buildings, they tried to portray them to us as maintenance workers. But we was like, what is a maintenance worker doing? And basically a hazmat suit. And they had masks and goggles.
In the 1950s and 60s, in secret, the U.S. Army sprayed zinc cadmium sulfide into the air of a St. Louis housing project, a largely black neighborhood called Pruitt-Igoe.
It was a lose-lose situation for us in Pruitt-Igoe. We were subjects. We were subjects.
They didn't ask for our permission. We didn't ask for them to spray us. My government used me like I was a guinea pig.
We're standing at where Pruitt-Igoe used to be here in St. Louis, and it's hard to believe more than 10,000 people used to live here. As we bring our drone up, you can see it's mostly just an empty lot now, overgrown with trees. This used to be filled with 33 high-rise buildings. It was all demolished in 1976. And according to the National Research Council, St. Louis was chosen for spraying experiments because it had similar characteristics to Soviet targets like Moscow in terms of population density and terrain and proximity to a river. The government now admits to a secretive series of Cold War tests, including one dubbed large area coverage. More than 30 tests conducted across the U.S. and Canada, spraying zinc cadmium sulfide from planes, rooftops, and vehicles to simulate how a biological attack might spread, all to prepare for potential warfare against the Soviets.
Many of us been in the military and had top secret clearances. We know how it works.
We have died for America. We have fought for America.
You are a veteran.
I am United States Air Force veteran.
Dr. Starks, you're a veteran as well, isn't
Yes, I am. I'm an Air Force veteran also.
Is there a sense of betrayal here?
Definitely.
They want to know if those secret tests have anything to do with what they're observing with their own eyes.
I lost my two older siblings to cancer. I lost a brother last month.
I've been diagnosed recently with a rare form of lymphoma.
I had cancer of the left kidney, had partial removal of my left kidney.
News Nation reached out to the Army for answers. They provided a one-page response. It says the Army's own Center for Health Promotion and Preventive Medicine investigated in 1994 and found inhalation exposure would not pose a health risk. They also cite later corroborating reviews, including a 1997 review by the National Research Council. Perhaps they assumed we wouldn't read the NRC's 380-page report, but we did, and the Army's statement doesn't show the full picture. In that 1997 review, the National Research Council explicitly says repeated exposure to zinc cadmium sulfide can cause kidney or bone toxicity or lung cancer if levels are high enough. And they admitted they couldn't fully assess the risk. Why? Because some Army records remain classified, it says, for national security reasons.
By that at all, Leo? Your own government, our own federal government, murdering our own civilians under the guise of science or getting ready to fight the Soviets?
Always, if you look hard enough, you'll find a Russian boogeyman somewhere. But yeah, Brannon, I mean, this does not surprise me. It should not surprise anyone. This is the same federal government, by the way, that preyed upon African-American males in the rural South, Tuskegee, Alabama, to be specific, for 40 years. They were studying, quote unquote, untreated syphilis in black males in the rural area of Tuskegee, Alabama, purposely not treating these guys who had syphilis when all it would have taken was a penicillin regimen, and they were withholding that. This went on from 1932 to 1972. How many men died needlessly as part of this experiment by the federal government, Brannon? So yes, there is a history, and then you look at also the the early radiation tests that were, perpetrated on American servicemen who were not told, and they were just, right there in the midst of all the radiation. And our government knew that it was going to have a harmful effect on their health, but they took no precaution. They wanted to find out what that would be when they used it potentially on the Soviet boogeyman. So, yes, there's a long history. That is just one example. I'm glad to see that news report being done there by what looked like a mainstream news outlet.
Yeah, it is News Nation. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Well, we showed that tonight. Talk about this just to prove, folks, there's a long history of our federal government abusing the American people, okay? And this is the problem. Our federal government's too big, too intrusive, and too unaccountable. Lest we repeat it too often, let's not forget it was our own military that wanted to carry out false flag terrorist attacks in southern Florida, blame it on the Cubans to entice the American people out of the stomach to invade Cuba. And President Kennedy told him to get out of his Oval Office. So this is a long history. So don't be shocked that your military, Operation Warp Speed, carried out a bioweapon attack on the American people. I think that's what the facts show. Now, let's switch gears. President Trump, late this afternoon, had this to say from the Oval Office.
When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago. And our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing, and you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over.
Okay, now let me go and show you the footage that the president has just released of this attack on this Venezuelan. I guess this is a Tren de Aragua drug smuggling vessel. Here we go. Look at this. I guess they're about to get it. Here we go. Lights out. All right, there you go. So, we've got obviously a drug war going on, but I think it's more than that. I've been reporting that we got Iran, China, Hezbollah, all of them in Venezuela. I think this is the camouflage to tell the American people. I personally believe there's something bigger going on, and maybe something much more existential in regard to the threat to the American people. I don't think this is just about fighting drugs. What say you?
Oh, I totally agree, Brannon. This has been going on for decades, not just from Venezuela, but from all manner of Latin American countries. There's been drug smuggling, involvement where those drugs have the destination of the United States of America. So why are we focusing just on this one country of Venezuela? Well, number one, they have a lot of resources, one of the wealthiest oil producing countries in the world. And we're not happy with the government there. Mr. Maduro, the United States does not recognize him as the legitimate leader of that country. So there's been a lot of friction leading up to this over the ensuing months since that election was held months ago. And now we see military action being taken, and we're told it's about drugs. I'm with you. That may be one reason for it, but it is certainly not the only reason, and it's certainly not the primary reason. I think there's a lot going on there that the United States, number one, the United States government has singled out Venezuela as a key country of interest. But number two, they are very unhappy with the government there in that resource-rich country, which is aligned pretty much with China. And so, it is on President Trump's list to I would think for regime change, and maybe that's what will come out of this in the end. Now, Mr. Maduro was popping off at the mouth today, acting very big and bad himself, saying that he could raise a civilian militia, he said, of millions of people, like 2 or 3 million Venezuelans are ready to go to bat for him and sign up for the civilian militia. I highly doubt that that's the case, Brannon, but even if it is, I don't think they're going to be much of a match for these, high-powered U.S. naval forces.
Mm-hmm. One other article here, Leo, before we let you go. Euro Weekly, France tells hospital to be war ready by March of 2026. This was in our Worldview Report tonight. Leo's the senior executive producer of the Worldview Report. He put this in our report tonight. And they apparently are planning to have to treat battlefield casualties and foreign soldiers, foreign victim, which tells me, that NATO is probably going to be involved. Which, again, the question is, are the globalists setting up Donald Trump for war and then dragging us in?
Yes, I think that's the case, Brannon. I mean, NATO needs to justify its existence right now. It is at a precipice, a crossroads in history where, it needs to justify all of the money that is put into this military alliance. And, with no war, there's no need for NATO, right? So they are talking up war. France, yes, I believe they probably are doing what this article is suggesting, getting hospitals prepared. But it also was a great propaganda method of propaganda for the French government, because they can now scare the French population into supporting the war by saying, we're mobilizing our hospitals because we expect to be at war with Russia by March of 2026. I doubt that's going to happen, at least not that soon. It could. I wouldn't rule it out. I personally think World War III is probably going to have, we're probably going to see that can kick down the road to maybe late 2026 into 2027. I don't think the Europeans are anywhere near ready. NATO is not ready, at least not with strong presence from the United States. And President Trump is indicating that he really doesn't want to get involved in a shooting war with Russia. I think he wants to pivot and focus more on the China threat. So I think he wants Europe to provide more for its own defense. So if it wants to go to war with Russia, it's going to have to prepare for that without counting on American troops or boots on the ground. America will help it financially and with weapons, of course. We'll do all we can to help those European allies if they decide to go to war with Russia. But I don't believe, at least under President Trump, that we are going to see boots on the ground. And without that, Brannon, it's just pie in the sky fantasizing by these idiots in Brussels, Paris, and London about going to war with Russia. Russia has no intentions of invading their capitals, of invading Western Europe. But they want their populations to think that that's a major legitimate threat so that they will agree to what? Pay more in taxes to build up their own industrial base, build up their military. So maybe 2 years from now, they'll be ready to take on the Russians.
I want to go back to that video of President Trump. I'm just going to show it to you. Maybe he is under the weather. Maybe that's all it is. But I just don't think he looks well. He looks very tired. His eyes, to me, look tired. I think he's tired, but I think he's more than tired. And why wouldn't you be? That's a lot of weight on your shoulder. They've put him through a lot the last few years. But I just have to wonder, how well is President Trump? And with the bruises on his hand, what we've seen pictures of the swollen ankles, and then the weird comment by J.D. Vance the other day, that he has had the best on-the-job training, the 200 days, and tragedies do happen. And if something were to happen, he's ready to go. I don't know. That just was odd to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Brannon, I agree. There's something going on there. I don't know if President Trump, just had the flu, a bad case of the flu over that 4 or 5 day period where he was sort of out of the public eye, or if there's something more serious going on. I saw the videos of the swollen ankles. That was very concerning, and could be an indication of any number of disorders. That combined with the hand issue, clearly he looks fatigued. I mean, it doesn't take any sort of medical specialist to look at the man today and say he didn't look fatigued. And that was with, the makeup and everything that he has on. I mean, I'm on the air right now with no makeup. I've never gone on the air with makeup. But President Trump's makeup seems to be getting thicker and thicker with every week that he's on the job lately, and so he's wanting to project this image that he has for very good reason of being a strong leader. But I think his health may be failing him.
And what do they say the swollen? What do they say the swollen ankles are from, Logan? He has chronic venous insufficiency. It's something with his veins.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that may
That's
not
what
be
we're being told,
uncommon
at
for.
least. That's what we're being told, at least.
Yeah. He's going to be 80 years old. He's going on 80 years
That's
old.
right.
So,
He's doing
I mean,
very good for 80, I'll tell you that. But I'm just concerned for the man, and people should pray for him. And this is what really added the concern to me. Here we go.
As vice president, you're a heartbeat away from the presidency. And your boss is one of the oldest people to ever be sworn into office. You're one of the youngest people to ever be second in line. Are you ready to assume the role of commander-in-chief? And why should Americans trust you to lead the country?
Well, I've gotten a lot of good on-the-job training over the last 200 days, but also say that the president is in incredibly good health. He's got incredible energy. And while most of the people who work around the president of the United States are younger than he is, I think that we find that he actually is the last person who goes to sleep. He's the last person making phone calls at night, and he's the first person who wakes up and the first person making phone calls in the morning. So, yes, things can always happen. Yes, terrible tragedies happen, but I feel very confident the President of the United States is in good shape, is going to serve out the remainder of his term and do great things for the American people. And if, God forbid, there's a terrible
As vice
All right, if something happens, he's ready to step in. All right, well, there you go. And then you add that to the fact that President Trump is reportedly called for moving the Republican National Convention up before the midterms. Have you heard that?
No, now that's a new one to me.
What?
Yeah, or I heard it and forgot it, but is that something just recently in the news, or was that from a few months
Last week?
back?
No, last week.
Okay.
Here we go. Speaker Mike Johnson comes out in full support of President holding a presidential-style Republican National Convention before the 2026 midterms.
Wow. Well, Republican National Convention before the midterms. That's
Not very
bizarre.
often do I scoop Leo and give him something he doesn't know, because that's his job every day.
But if I do get scooped, Brannon, it would be something like that. I don't follow inside politics that closely. I'm more focused on issues and rather than procedures and stuff like that. But so it doesn't surprise me that I missed that one.
Here he is.
But
Well, it was over the holiday.
that would be something.
He put this out right before the holiday thing. It's the Republican Party's doing great, blah, blah, blah. The results, okay. I'm thinking of recommending a national convention of the Republican Party just prior to the midterms. It's never been done before. Stay tuned.
That is definitely...
Add that to all the other things I'm talking about. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. I mean, who knows, Brannon? He could have a serious illness, or like I said, it could just be a bad flu he's getting over, and he looks very tired. That combined with the rigors of the job lately, I hope it's the latter. I hope it's the latter.
Yeah. We want him to serve his 4 years in the second term and be very successful at what he does. But there you go. LeoHohmann.com and LeoHohmann.substack.com. LeoHohmann.com and LeoHohmann.substack.
And some people I can see people emailing me right now saying, Leo, maybe you need to wear some makeup.
Well, Leo, you know what? It's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's all I can say. Right? And I think your wife probably thinks you're gorgeous, just the way you are.
Oh, yeah. I hear that daily.
I'm sure you do, right?
You take care, Brad.
Thank you. Leo Hohmann checking in tonight. LeoHohmann.com, LeoHohmann.substack.com. Are you registered for the big event? Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. It's coming up fast. Get registered, folks. WorldviewStore.com, WorldviewStore.com. Saw people registering again, as I said, from all over the country this weekend. It's kicking up, and we're going to have a great turnout. We want you to be a part of it. WorldviewStore.com. We'll be right back after this. You've seen some of them on Fox News, and now some of them are coming to the Worldview Weekend in Collierville, Tennessee. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Like Gordon Chang, an expert on China, as China is buying up a lot of our farmland and more. Then we're going to have the lead pollster of Rasmussen Polling, Mark Mitchell. Where are we headed with the midterms? What's the worldview of the average American? What values do they really believe in? And then Chris Martenson, he's an expert on the Great Reset as we head toward digital currency and social credit scores. Sidney Powell, a lot of you know who that is. Alex Newman, Dr. Andy Woods on Israel and the Middle East. And Adia Miramonde, she was inside the government and even met with people like Gaddafi. She's going to talk about the Middle East. All the details are available, and to get your tickets at worldviewstore.com. That's worldviewstore.com. Again, tell your family and friends, worldviewstore.com.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. Joining me now is Patrick Wood. I want to play a little bit of a video for you that I listened to 3 times over the course of the weekend. Fascinating, insightful, trending, showing us where we're going. Do I got your attention? Because there's things I very, very rarely listen to 3 times. And Patrick, he listened to it and had it transcribed. So glad he did. And he's got the transcript over at technocracy.news. He joins us. Patrick, welcome back. Glad you're with us.
Am I on screen?
You are. Glad to have you. There you go. I want to play a little of this video and then have you comment on it. It's about the build to rent market. Build to rent, which may tell us about the old goal of 2030. By 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy. You'll be renting everything. Everything will be a subscription, right? By the way, I saw recently, reported in my Worldview report, where one car company, if you want the full power of your car, you're going to have to sign up and get a subscription to access the full power of your car. And then you have different features. Well, pretty soon, your refrigerator and all these things will have extra features, but you're going to have to pay a monthly subscription to get those. Seems that's where we're going. Now, isn't it interesting that World Economic Forum has said now the last several years, by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy. BlackRock, the new head of the World Economic Forum after Klaus Schwab, is now Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock. True or false?
Yeah, exactly. And he's also a member of the Trilateral Commission, I might add. Yep. Just saying. And just saying.
Reportedly, they're going around buying up lots and lots of rental properties, houses. Yes. And now there's a report. Now there's a report that hold one second, guys. There's now a report that Buffett is dumping a bunch of money. Here it is. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway invests nearly $1 billion in home building giants. All right, folks, I want to talk to Patrick about all this, but I first want you to listen to a little bit of this video that is so fascinating. Let's see, I got to bring it back up. Here it is. Listen to this, guys. Here we go.
Warren Buffett just bet nearly $1 billion on 2 of America's most controversial home builders, companies known for building what some call disposable houses. That's right, while everyone else is panicking about a housing crash, Berkshire Hathaway quietly accumulated $800 million worth of Lennar stock and another $191 million in D.R. Horton shares during the first half of 2025. But here is what should really blow your mind. These builders aren't making most of their money selling homes anymore. They're becoming America's biggest landlords through something called build to rent, and the numbers are absolutely staggering. The build to rent sector has exploded by 270% since 2019, with these companies now controlling over 350,000 rental homes across America. Look, I'm about to show you something that most investors completely miss about this housing market. There's a reason Buffett's team is piling into home builders right when mortgage rates are stuck above 6.5%, and the average American needs to earn $126,700 just to afford a median-priced home. And no, it's not because he thinks home prices are about to crash. It's actually the opposite. But before we dive into that, let me ask you something that might sound crazy. What if I told you that D.R. Horton and Lana don't actually care if you can afford to buy their homes anymore? What if their entire business model has shifted to something far more profitable? And what if the housing shortage everyone's talking about is actually their golden ticket to decades of guaranteed profits? Stick with me for the next few minutes because I'm going to reveal 3 game-changing shifts happening in real estate right now that explain exactly why Berkshire Hathaway is making this massive bet. And trust me, once you see what's really happening behind the scenes, you'll understand why this might be the smartest housing play of the decade. All right, let's start with the elephant in the room. According to Berkshire's latest SEC filing from August 14th, 2025, they now own 7.05 million shares of Lennar and 1.48 million shares of D.R. Horton. Combined value, just over $1 billion. Now, before you say Warren Buffett's lost his mind buying home builders in this market, here's the kicker. Probably wasn't even Buffett who made these trades. These positions are below Berkshire's typical billion-dollar threshold for Buffett's direct involvement. This was likely Todd Combs or Ted Weschler, the portfolio managers who each run about 10% of Berkshire's portfolio. But here's why that matters even more. These guys don't make headlines unless they find something really special. Think about this for a second. Mortgage rates are sitting at 6.58% according to Freddie Mac's latest data. First-time buyers now make up only 24% of the market, the lowest share since 1981. The median home price hit $435,300 in June 2025.
Did you guys talk
and
about
the
this
average
today?
household needs to earn over 6 figures just to qualify for a mortgage. So why on earth would anyone buy home builder stocks right now? Here's where it gets interesting. Remember when I mentioned that these builders don't care if you can buy their homes? Let me show you what I mean. D.R. Horton has quietly built over 14,000 rental homes since launching their build-to-rent division in 2019. They're now operating in 33 states with 38,400 homes in inventory for 2025. In just their last quarter, they sold 1,065 single-family rental homes for $313.5 million, not to families, but to institutional investors. Did you catch that? They're not selling to you and me anymore. They're selling entire neighborhoods to Wall Street. But wait, it gets even crazier. Lennar just partnered with Invitation Homes, the company that owns 80,000 single-family rentals across America. Through their Upward America venture, backed by $1.25 billion from Centerbridge Partners and Alliance Real Estate, they're planning to deploy over $4 billion to buy and rent out homes. The partnership already includes 4,400 homes in Florida, Texas, and the Carolinas. Now you might be thinking, okay, but why would this be profitable? Let me hit you with some numbers that'll make your head spin. The build-to-rent sector now represents 9% of all single-family construction, up from never exceeding 3.1% before 2008. Rent Cafe reports that 2023 was BTR's most successful year with nearly 27,500 homes completed. That's 75% more than 2022 and triple 2021's numbers. Here's the part nobody's talking about. These aren't your typical rental properties. The average BTR home rents for $2,181 per month, according to CBRE's latest data. That's a 10 to 40% premium over comparable apartments. And get this, they're maintaining 97% occupancy rates with only 28 to 35% annual turnover, way better than traditional apartments.
So, build to rent. This is kind of telling us now, we've been trying to figure out what's this, you will own nothing and be happy stuff. Now we see a lot of young people, they don't want to own a house. You know what, we're increasingly, if you dig down, now I track a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of stuff I study that I never even have time to talk about on the air. because I personally study a lot of stuff because I'm interested in it. And at times I have a chance to talk about some of it, times I don't. But I don't know. Maybe it's me, Patrick, as I get older, I like to watch a little Rockford Files, maybe a little old Magnum PI, some 80s shows. But I'm to the point now where I'm just constantly wanting to learn. You know, the more I learn, the more I realize I got a lot more to learn, right? And I just love learning. So I like to watch documentaries. I like watching videos like this. And so I like studying, and I have questions, and I'll go research it, right? And I can tell you right now, I don't know what's going on in your market. I don't know what's going on in other markets. But I can tell you where I live, you have a lot of people that make very good money that do not want to own a home. Or they make enough money, they're rich enough to rent. They are doctors, and maybe they had a divorce. And now, right now, is not a good time for them to buy a house, so they rent. I'm tracking with some of my friends in real estate, realtor friends of mine, bankers, to get a feel. And a lot of folks in their 40s and 50s are renting homes, not apartments, homes. They can have their own backyard, their dog, their kids or grandkids over, people in their 50s with grandkids, whatever. And many of them, they don't want a home anymore. They've either had a divorce or two, and they're just not in a financial position to do it, but they make enough money to rent, well, like they just said there, a $2,100, $2,200 a month house. Some of them, they want to spend their money on traveling. They don't want to spend it on property tax. They don't want to spend it on maintenance and ACs, you know, breaking down, and refrigerators breaking down. They'll let the landlord take care of all that. They want to know they got plenty of money to enjoy themselves. I am seeing a trend where people are willing increasingly to not own a home. This seems to be fitting right into a demographic. I think people are thinking by 2030 you'll own nothing and be happy, is we're going to force this on you. Maybe in some areas they will. But I think the trend is what they're going with. And for some reason, owning a home, maybe be out of the reach of some people, but the American dream of owning a home, being married, having children, that's going by the wayside. The whole culture is being rewritten. What are your thoughts?
This whole plan started in 2019, just before the pandemic hit, and it was obviously in some people's minds before that, but that's really when it hit. In the last 10 years, especially, maybe 15 years, the affordability factor of homes have changed people's expectations of not owning a home because they could never afford it in the first place. 10% down, 20% down, that's not in the cards for many people, especially the under 30 crowd at this point. They have trouble getting jobs. Even the college graduates have trouble to get a job. Basically, they've given up hope of ever owning a piece of America. Then you have certainly other factors entering in as well, but the home builders at this point and these big investment companies like BlackRock and so on, they figured out another profit model that doesn't depend on interest being charged and giving equity to the homeowners. They want to have the home in their possession, and the rent they can get off that rental is more than the interest they got in the first place. So you see, all of a sudden, they develop a market that can be 20%, 30%, or 40% richer for them. This is going to sweep the country at this point. Some states, by the way, are pushing back. Some cities are pushing back as well. But this trend is going to continue. And because all of these asset funds like BlackRock, they have billions and billions and billions of dollars in cash. This is not debt. This is not debt at all. They have all this cash. They want to put their cash into resources, physical things. So they're dumping it into housing. Well, where is this leading? Obviously, you can see that if the political forces don't stop it at this point, some might, but you can see where this is going to be headed, because all the cash is going to be eventually in the hands of these giant companies, just reinvesting as fast as they can go. At some point in time, there will be no more houses on the market for sale, or it'll squeeze the market so horribly that prices will just skyrocket for the remaining houses that are available for buying. But at this point, the companies that are buying out these whole neighborhoods, they're not giving up any house for sale. They won't do it. So all of those rentals now, they're not ever going to be for sale again. Where does that leave the rest of the market? Well, it leaves the rest of the market really hurting.
Logan, Thomas, is that called the Villages at Shelby Station? Is that the new big, beautiful white and brick apartment buildings back there by south of Beale, the restaurant? Is that called what's that project called? It's not the Villages at Shelby Station. That is it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I wanted to verify. Okay, I wanted to verify. Well, you ought to know your dad's been in the local government. Look at this, okay? I want to show you this. This is $2,900 a month, okay? This is in our community in Collierville. Now, they built these over the last couple years, year and a half, year? They just got finished, some of them. It's phases. And my wife and I drove around these a week ago. And they are so cute. And there's no yard to maintain. And they're so upgraded. And we were like, wow. But look how many there are. Okay? And they're building more. They're building more. Now, I don't know. Again, I don't think they cut their yards. I think that's all done. That's all part of the deal when you move in. And they got security gates, as you can see. Now, these are not as cute as the ones we were looking at. I don't know. I'm looking for the pictures of the ones the ones we were in were like, you felt like you were in a small town and driving, going down the center street of the town, zero lot lines. But these are nice. Okay, now these are running $2,900 a month, according to what I just saw.
Mm-hmm.
And they're building a ton of them. And some of them have garages, and I guess golf courts and pickleball and whatnot. But look at that. Double car garage. When you walk out the door, you can then walk to a series of restaurants right there. Right there. And I thought, is this a 15-minute city? Is this where we're going? I don't know. But it's certainly that kind of planned community. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is these are popping up all over our town, all over our area. I know they are around the country. And there obviously has to be a demand where people either can't buy a house or they don't want to, but they're willing to pay $2,900 a month in rent, Patrick.
It's insane. It really is. There, in Mesa, Arizona, which is typically has been in past years a single-family home community. There's a lot of trailer parks, RV resorts here in town, but it's basically otherwise all been single-family houses.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see apartments and townhouses popping out all over the place. Every day it seems like you drive down the street, then there's another one being constructed. And I have to say, by and large, they're cheap construction. I look at the materials going into these facilities. These are not made for selling to a local investor because they want a nice apartment house or duplex or whatever. These are basically being constructed as cheaply as they can. And at some point, you can see they're going to be turned into a tenement because the things are going to get run down and repairs aren't going to be made like they should. The paint won't be renewed like it should. And you can see these things just deteriorating over time. This is the same thing that's going to happen with all these neighborhoods that are build to rent. They're using other types of materials, not the premium materials that you would buy if you went out to buy a house in that neighborhood. No. You might pay $400,000 for your house. They're selling these build to rent houses for $300,000 with cheap materials, and that's why you see some of these homeowners or the renters now complaining to Better Business Bureau, to the online forums and stuff like that. They're complaining all the stuff's going wrong with these houses at this point. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. And this is where the whole public is being deceived. I've talked to people in Mesa, Arizona, who complain, where do all these apartment houses coming from? Who authorized that? Well, city council did, obviously. The zoning commission did. Why did they do that? We didn't want this here. But all of a sudden, boom, we're a renter community. Well, now this explains exactly what's going on.
Yep. Now it explains. And how is this going to impact the economy, you think? And by the way, did you see that President Trump, I guess next week or next month, is going to declare a housing emergency? Did you see that?
I haven't seen that. I would not be surprised.
No, I've got the article. I got the article. It means President Trump to declare a housing emergency. All right, here we go. No, I read about it today. All right, here we go. Here it is. Newsweek. Trump may declare a housing emergency. There it is. And there's an article. Yeah, and he's talking, and it was his Scott Bessent, his Treasury Secretary, talking about all the things they could do to increase the housing market. Okay, and they're going to declare some kind of emergency and do things to get the mortgage rates lower and get things kicked off and get a building boom going. Okay, so that's already in the works.
That's going to be really interesting. It'll be interesting to see, especially if this is going to cater to the build to rent market or to homeowners themselves. It's going to be interesting.
I'm wondering if in other words, some of the communities are pushing back against it. His federal law may override them and say, you have to allow for this to be built.
Exactly. That can happen. And certainly when you consider 15-minute cities, that's the freedom cities that Trump wants to build around the country. These, you could just see this is set up for the investment funds like BlackRock just to make a killing. And in the meantime, all the people will be controlled because of the 15-minute city concept in the first place. Stunning.
Absolutely.
Stunning.
Now, by the way, let me go backtrack, because guys in the control room, you gave me the wrong, that is a project, the one I showed you a while ago, but that's not the one I drove around the other night. Yeah, well, I'm going to show you. This is called Water Tower District at Schilling Farms. This is the one I was talking. That's in our town too, the one I showed. But watch this little video. Tommy, your dad's in local government. You ought to know all this off the top of your head, buddy boy.
My grandmother's moved to the village.
Your grandmother's moved to the villages. The one over the first one I showed. Yeah. Does she like it?
She moved.
Oh, she's coming from Pickwick to go there. Well, this one here is right by SOB. That's I'm not doing a cuss word there. That's called South of Beale. It's a restaurant here in our town. But listen, this is right by there. Watch this little video. Here we go. All right, see, there's the restaurant, SOB, And this is an older, done during the winter, obviously. I'm going to mute the music and just talk over it. And I'm not doing a commercial for these fellers. But the point I'm making now, there are those buildings right back. There's the guy with one of the investment companies behind it. And those are beautiful shops. Some of you that come to town for our national conference may go to one of the restaurants there. There's some really good, there's SOB. They got great hamburgers. There's others there, pizza place right next to it. That's a nice area in the center of our town. And then right behind it, the same developer are building these townhomes, apartments, wherever they are. And that's a little eating area there. And you can walk to that little area from your apartment, okay? And it's called the Water District, okay? I'm using this as an example because this is, come back to me, guys. This is what my wife and I rode around the other night because we just had never had the time. Now, look, here's what they're building there. Look at that, okay? Florist, different things, and then you got your apartment or whatever. And, of course, you could walk outside, walk right across the street, all those restaurants and whatnot, and they're going to be doing more. This is the reason I'm bringing this up is this is obviously very appealing to a lot of folks, and this is kind of where we're going, is it not?
It is, and I will bet most of those units will be rented rather than sold.
Yeah,
that would be my guess.
Yep. Can somebody check? Are they mostly rented, boys? They are. He's saying they are rented. Yep.
Yeah, I would think.
You don't own them. You rent them. I wonder what the starting price on those is, guys. Does anyone know?
I think around $850 baseline.
$850? No way. No way. Way too cheap. I would be stunned. No way.
It's Tim Blue that's doing it.
Yeah, I know who's doing it. I see his signs all over town for the last gazillion years. Find out what the rent is on that, boys.
Interesting.
Those are not. They're very nice from the exterior. Now I have no idea what the interior looks like.
This whole idea of mixed use.
Okay, there we go. 1 bed, 1 bath, $1,700. 2 beds, 2 baths. How much? $2,600.
Oh, ouch.
3 beds. 3 beds. How many bath? 3 beds, 2 bath. $3,100 to $3,400 a month for 3 beds, 2 baths.
Wow. Who's making money here?
Yeah, and you rent them. You don't buy them, right, Logan? Yeah.
Remember, you might remember from Agenda 21 that started in 1992.
Yeah.
The concept was to build, and this same thing happened with 2030 agenda. That was the update to the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a mixed use community, stack them and pack them, where the commercial units were below and the other apartments and stuff, townhouses, were on top of that, and others scattered around the community. This has been a design that was originally tried probably in the 1950s or the 40s. It failed miserably. And now you see many of these facilities are empty, or they can't get them rented, or they go bankrupt because they can't sell them. And it's just interesting, this civic design technique has failed in the past miserably, but they're still pursuing this model.
Well, and here is a picture that they have on their website for this little community in our town. And when you drive around it, okay, it is very picturesque. You know, here in the South, you can do brick pretty inexpensively because the brick's made here. So it's made of brick, very picturesque. It has a real sense of like a small town USA. You know, your neighbors and your friends are gonna be very close, 0 lot lines, walking distances, so some great restaurants with patios and great food. And I maybe this is the time they're going to do it. Maybe this is what people want now. I don't know. We are in a consumer society now, right? We're not a saving society. We're a consuming society. I just don't know if enough people in the culture have enough desire to save and wait to buy a house I just don't know. I don't know if enough people want the commitment to marriage, to children, to a house. I just think in this postmodern world we're living in, I'm not sure that that's the values being ingrained into enough people anymore. Not that everybody that goes to live somewhere like that is somehow a bad person or not traditional. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this desire of not owning a home kind of might fit with I don't want to get married. I don't want to have children. These are the growing trends. And if that's the case, and you're a busy person working your job and traveling and vacationing and doing whatever you want, why would you want to mess with a home and maintaining it and the yard and the AC breaking down and the refrigerator breaking down? Maybe that's where our culture is. It's entertainment driven. Go do your work and then go be entertained. I don't know, but it didn't work in the past. But boy, they're building these all over the country. And when we drove around this the other night, there were already a lot of cars at these places. So they're obviously renting them out.
Indeed. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We have them all over Phoenix area as well, just like what you described here. In fact, I have one 2 miles from our house in East Mesa. They look pretty for now, but 10 years down the road, who knows?
Who knows? Well, let's talk about this because your article, before we wrap with you, your article talks about the fact that what they're doing here is going from a debt-based economy to more of a asset-based, correct?
Exactly. I can see the handwriting on the wall. We've talked about this several times off air, a couple of times on air. I see a switch coming very quickly, a flip-flop, if you will, from a debt-based system to an asset-based system. What does that mean? Well, it's going to be basically, that's going to mean the commercial banks are going to be out of business, probably. The Federal Reserve is going to have to change its role some radically, actually. And if the whole system flips, where debt is now not outlawed, but debt is just wiped out somehow, you see the rise of the asset-based economy, where the assets will be rented out by these giant companies that have the cash at this point. And you can see how the whole thing could flip over. But here's the problem. This video that you played in the beginning of this segment, the guy talks in glowing terms. Oh, you got to get on the bandwagon. You should be investing in stuff, and you rah, rah, rah. Well, the thing that he misses here, that means the end of private properties. You can't do that in a capitalist system and think that it's going to stay. It has to have private property throughout the system to survive. Remember, all of the businesses, all the small businesses that have been started over the years, last 50 years, they were started when somebody had an idea, they wanted to do something. Maybe it was, building a welding shop or whatever, a tech company. Most of them started with equity in their homes. That's the only place they could get money. Otherwise, nobody would give anybody an unsecured loan. No, you pledge your house as collateral for your business, and then hopefully your business took off, and now you're employing all these people because of that. And the statistics I remember from 40, 50 years ago, 80% of every employee in America was hired by that type of a company. The small businesses, some of them grew to be medium-sized businesses, but nevertheless, small business was the backbone of America. It's not anymore. Small business has been wiped out over the years, and this is just one more trend that's going to put the ice pick, if you will, in the whole American dream.
Let's flip one more time to another article before we let you go at technocracy.news. New synthetic life form could spell doom for humankind. What's this about?
You can't make this stuff up. The scientists now they've set their sights, genetic science. They've set their sights on creating mirror life. That means that they're going to reverse the direction of how your DNA is circled together. If you put your hand in the air like this, around your fingers, where they're going counterclockwise. That's how DNA is constructed, right? If you do it this way, it's going the other direction. Well, they call this is mirror life at this point. Why on earth would you want to change the direction of how your DNA spins in the first place? Who wants that? Well, other scientists have figured out what these crazy people are doing in their labs at this point. They're trying to figure out how they could do this successfully, starting, of course, with bacteria. And if they can actually do that, where they can reverse the spin of your DNA or the more organism's DNA, it might come up with something that was so devastating to life on a planet that basically it could wipe out all life on the planet, not just humans, but everything. So these scientists now are saying, wait a minute, we need to time out here. We don't want to go there. You're going to open up Pandora's box. But the scientists that want to do it, they're just going to go ahead and do it anyway because they're compelled. They think that just because they can, they should. And we've seen this all along the way anyway, this crazy attitude that just because they can do it, they should do it. But this is one more example. So some scientists have their heads screwed on right about this, and they're saying, guys, don't do this. Just stop it.
Well, hopefully they will. And you can keep up. Yeah. And you can keep up with it all at technocracy.news, technocracy.news. And of course, Tuesdays and Thursdays, technocracy.news airs here with host Patrick Wood and Logan Howse, 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern Standard. Patrick, as always, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. Joining me now is Robert Spencer of jihadwatch.org, jihadwatch.org. And Mr. Spencer, well, he has plenty to watch, that's for sure. One of the things that happened over the holiday break was a conference. The information about that was going out at a conference came to light. Here is one of the speakers at this conference. I want to play this and have Robert comment. This took place, folks, in the United States of America. I think it was Michigan. Here we go.
Gaza needs to be saved now. It saved all of us, liberated all of us. It is time for us to pay back and stop the criminals, the perpetrators, the child murderers. And we all know who they are. We all know who they are, whether they are in Israel, in Tel Aviv, in Washington, in Germany, in Europe. We all know them. We all know them. They need to be locked up. They need to be taken out. They need to be neutralized to save children. To save children. To save the humanity. We are not saying this out of hate. We are saying this out of love for the children, love for life, love for humanity where every life is equal. We only hate the war criminals, the child murderers. We need to act now. Speaking up alone is not enough. It's two years old. We have been speaking up for 2 years. Now it's time to escalate and to act and to get the murderers out. Save the children. Thank you. The warmongers and the mega rich who are owning these systems, they want the whole world to be owned by these few supremacists, whether they are Jewish supremacists or Christian supremacists, Christian evangelicals or mega rich. It is time or never. We need to mobilize. If we wait 5 years, 10 years, their system will be so strong that we, the people, cannot fight it. So we need to take the thrones of power from them. And we, the people, need to create a better world and better humanity for everyone.
All right. He said they got to go after the Jews, the Christians, the evangelicals when it comes to what they're doing. Who is this gentleman? Joining me now, of course, is Robert Spencer, as I said, of jihadwatch.org. I know you were tracking that this weekend. What are your thoughts on what you just heard?
Well, it's the same thing that we've heard so many times, Brannon. It's a statement of intent that is 100% serious and completely mainstream in Islamic tradition, that when Muslims come to a new land, they are to conquer and Islamize it. And that's what they are here for. So this guy at this conference, he's a very skillful propagandist. You got to give it to him. You got to give him credit. He knows how to couch what he is saying in terms that will appear palatable to Western non-Muslims, particularly leftists. And they'll say, well, yeah, you know, I'm against global hegemony and imperialism and excuse me, and racism and things of that nature. And so I'm with this guy, Free Palestine. And he doesn't realize that the biggest, that is the leftist marks who fall for this kind of the propaganda appeal, they don't realize that the biggest imperialist force in the world today, and for the last 1,400 years of history, for that matter, is Islamic Jihad. And when this guy is talking about how the Jews and Christians want to take over the world and impose their hegemony, that's pure projection. It is only Islam that has that kind of a program. I mean, Jesus said, go and make disciples of all nations, but that's not a political program. When this guy is saying we want to Islamize the world, that's a political program, because Islam does not have any idea of render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's and to God that which is God's. Islam is political as well as religious. This is a supremacist, aggressive, and violent expansionist religion, and that is what he is articulating here quite skillfully in terms of liberation from oppression.
So we've got these guys speaking here in the U.S. now, coming here, speaking like this, talking like this, and of course, they're showing their hand, as you said, more and more. Now, for those of us like yourself, myself, many in this audience who are very astute, long-term students, some of this is not new to them, but it's new to a lot of their family and their friends when they hear things like this lady here. This is a Muslim Brotherhood TV host explaining under what circumstances Christian girls can be raped. Listen to this, folks. I think it's going to be transcribed here for you.
كان دي بقى نظمه بإيه؟ إن لا يكون إلا عن طريق الحرب المشروعة بين المسلمين وبين أعدائهم. يعني لو إحنا حاربنا إسرائيل وإسرائيل دي مغتصبة للأرض بل ومعتدية على البشر وعلى العقيدة، وطبعا احنا بنتكلم عن المستحيل، يعني مستحيل ان احنا هيجي اليوم اللي نحارب فيه اسرائيل، ولو ان سورة الإسراء مبشرة بكده يعني، وليس مستحيلا على الله سبحانه وتعالى. فأصل الحرب من النساء هم ملك اليمين، بمعنى إن عشان أذلهم بيصبحوا ملكا للقائد أو للجيش أو للمسلم يستمتع بيهم كما يستمتع بي.
Okay, I want to stop right there. Make sure everybody's keeping up. When you conquer, when you humiliate them, they can become your sex slave, and you can have sex with them just like he has sex with his wives, the commander, the conquerors. Okay, folks? You understanding what's going on here? Don't be shocked when they're raping the girls in your community as they're doing all over Europe. And then when the folks of Europe speak up and start waving their national flag, they literally are being arrested. We have videos of this all over the place now. Let me go to the rest of it. We'll get a response from Robert. Let's go back to it. Here we go.
زوجاتي. بعض بقى المتنطعين والمتشددين واللي بيسيئوا للإسلام يقول لك أنا أجيب واحدة من شرق آسيا تكون ملك يمين وبموافقة زوجتي أخصص لها غرفة وأستمتع بيها كملك يمين.
There you go. And I will have sex with her, she says, as a slave girl.
هذا هراء وهذا ادعاء يعني لا يقول به الإسلام إطلاقا، لأن الإسلام بيقول إما على الزوجة وإما ملك اليمين. فإحنا هنا ملك اليمين المشروع هو نتيجة أسرى الحرب.
Did you see that, folks? Did you see what she said there?
آسيا زوجتي أخصص لها غرفة وأستمتع بيها كملك يمين. هذا هراء وهذا ادعاء يعني لا يقول به الإسلام إطلاقا، لأن الإسلام
Islam says that a woman is either a wife or a slave
إما على
girl.
الزوجة وإما ملك اليمين. فإحنا هنا
Legitimately owned slaves come from among prisoners from a war. What constitutes a war? Is there such a war going on in America now? Is this why they're able to treat and molest many of our own American women?
Very important question, Brannon. Very important, because most people, when if they're aware of these passages at all and they are speaking with Islamic apologists about them, the Islamic apologists will dismiss these passages saying, oh, this is only about warfare. And they don't tell you that the vast majority of the Muslim organizations in the world today consider themselves to be at war with the Western world, and particularly with the United States as well as with Israel. That this is part of the ongoing war that the Quran prescribes: fight them until persecution is no more and religion is all for Allah. Our religion is not all for Allah, so we're at war with the Muslims, even though we don't want it and we're not aware of it. And so, in the context of that war, non-Muslim women can be taken and made into sex slaves. What this woman is saying is not her opinion. It is straight from the Quran. She refers to the captives of the right hand, the milk al-yamin. That is straight from the Quran, saying that you can have sex with your wives and the captives of the right hand, who are the spoils of war. And this is something that's delineated several times in the Quran. It's an established part of Islamic law. Nobody wants to talk about that because they want to pretend that Islam is a religion like Judaism or Christianity and teaches brotherhood and magnanimity, and that therefore there's no risk whatsoever in bringing large numbers of Muslims into the West. The problem is that Muslims themselves are aware of these passages, and many of them are prepared to act upon them. This is why we see the rape gang scandal in Britain, why we see a spike in rapes in countries such as Sweden, Germany, France, where they have admitted large numbers of Muslim migrants. We will see exactly the same thing here in the United States as Muslim migration continues. It's not as if they have a different form of Islam over here and we're going to be exempt from all this.
And yet, King Charlie, he just keeps praising Islam, doesn't he? King Charles, here he is. Listen to this, folks.
Assalamu alaikum. In this milestone anniversary year, I can only say that it is with enormous pride and admiration that I join you all here today to pay tribute to this remarkable center as it celebrates 4 decades of unfailing work to broaden our understanding of the Islamic world and in the United Kingdom.
Do you think he's converted to Islam?
Oh, I think it's very possible. He's been photographed in Islamic garb. He has spoken effusively and positively about Islam in ways that he's never spoken about Christianity, even though he is the titular head of the Church of England. He's supposed to be a Christian religious leader. Although it's hard really to sustain the argument that the Church of England is Christian in any real sense anymore today. And so that's part of the problem here, that he is the leader of a church that's so far to the left, it's discarded its own faith. And he, meanwhile, has this uncritical and untutored admiration for Islam without realizing the political supremacist and violent, aggressive aspects of it, which are overwhelming Britain even as we speak.
Indeed, they are, to the point, again, we've seen people being arrested for simply displaying their traditional flags over there. And part of it's because they're sick and tired of the Islamists coming in there, raping, molesting, accosting, violence, jihad, and the people are being arrested for waving their own flags now.
Yeah, well, this just demonstrates that the British government right now, Brannon, is an enemy of the British people. It is a socialist, globalist government that wants to destroy Britain as a nation state. I do not say that lightly. We have to understand that we only have 2 choices here. The British government is either stupid or evil. And I don't think they're stupid, because they have been able to see, even the most stupid official in the British government has been able to see what's been happening in Britain over the last 20 years, and to allow it to continue and to persecute the British people when they try to stand up against it takes you over into the evil category. That these are people, some of the top officials in Britain, it seems clear by their actions that what they want to do is destroy the British people as a nation. They are, because they are socialist internationalists, they are bringing all these people in because they hope to dilute and destroy the native culture and the native religion of the people, and to replace them with this melange of people that will lead to natural tensions among different groups that will justify an authoritarian crackdown. And that, in the first place, will allow for them to implement their socialist internationalist plans. Also, Britain being one of the foremost nation states in the world, to destroy it will help to further their general program of destroying all the nation states and creating one world government. This is the socialist internationalist ideal, that there will just be this one massive global state that will ultimately wither away and pure communism will be in force. It's a religious dogma, really, more than a political philosophy, but the British government is working toward implementing it.
Indeed they are. Now, this brings us also to a very sad report, and that is more than 60% of America's Gen Z support Hamas over Israel, says the New York Post. I mean, this is so distressing at many levels. You want to comment?
Oh, yeah. But it demonstrates the power of propaganda, Brannon. You know that these people have been systematically, skillfully lied to. You go back to Jador, the guy who was in the first video, and how much he is playing upon the language of the oppressor and the oppressed. And the American people are told that the Israelis are racist, white colonialist settler oppressors, and the Palestinians are the indigenous people of the land, and they're suffering from oppression. And so they gain the sympathy of people who are so ignorant as to buy this, and they don't know that the Israelis are actually the indigenous people of the land, and that there not only never was a Palestinian state, but there never was even a Palestinian people until they were created for propaganda purposes in the 1960s. These kinds of things are not generally known, and so people have been primed to fall for this propaganda, and they're falling for it in large numbers.
Well, I don't know how tight you are on your schedule, but this will, based on what you just said, will resonate with you. This is the son of Hamas. Have you seen his speech? I think he was over in Oxford, was he not? Is that where he was? Somewhere in Europe? Listen to a little bit of this. The son of Hamas, one of the founders of Hamas, who I've played for so many times over the years. This is amazing.
Yusuf, for those who don't know me, but I think most of you know who I am. I am sentenced by my father to death. He made my blood allowed. Why? Because I reported on suicide bombing attacks that targeted civilians indiscriminately. I am not ashamed of saving human lives. You should be ashamed for taking the side of terrorists. Hamas is a terrorist organization in the UK, in the United States, in the European Union. And it's not up to you to decide. How many of you sitting here want to teach me a lesson about morality? If you knew about October 7 attacks, any of you, raise your hands. If you had information about Hamas attack on October 7, would you report it to the authorities? If you do, raise your hand. Less than 5% in this room raise their hands that they will report a massive terrorist attack that targeted civilians indiscriminately. That includes Arabs, Muslim, Jews, Christians, peaceful farming communities on October 7. Ethnically cleansing 20 Jewish communities because of their ethnicity and because of their religion. Now, there come the Palestinians, the most pathetic people on planet Earth.
Is out of order.
Get down.
The speaker is out of order.
Delegitimize.
If the speaker order. When the chair is making a ruling, the speaker must remain seated. If the speaker repeats this again, I will have to ask them to leave.
They want to delegitimize someone who's born in that land.
A point of order has been raised. It is directed to the chair. A point of order has been raised. I have to hear the point of order. I have to hear the point of order.
Sit down.
Could I hear the point of order from the member? Order.
Sit down.
Order. It is not for you to tell a member to sit down. A point of order is directed to the chair.
Sit down.
Order. If this is repeated again, I will have to ask the speaker to leave. The speaker was out of order.
This house has been hijacked by Muslims.
Could I hear the point of order? Could I hear the point of order? Order. Could I hear the point of order? Please have a seat. The point of order is behind you.
What order?
The speaker made absolutely no reference to anyone in this chamber. He passed an opinion on his own people. Will he please be allowed to continue to debate, given how important his voice is in this conversation?
Order. 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 I have made my ruling very clear.
What is your ruling? I did not insult anyone in the room.
Order.
Speaker, who once invited by this union, was then attempts being made to prevent him from coming here to speak. And now we have seen that committed again. In the course of this speaker speaking, he has a right to freedom of speech, he has a right to speak in this chamber as an invited guest of this union. To order him out as a result of the opinion he has expressed on his own people brings this union into disrepute. It is a moment of betrayal.
They want to delegitimize my right to exist because I oppose their violent ideology. All the interruptions are not going to help the situation. You'll have to face the reality and the truth the way it is. I was born in that land. It's my birthright. And I was born as an Arab. I was not born as Palestinian, like millions of Arab children. And the Palestinians have been pushing the Palestinian violent indoctrination based on false narrative of apartheid, colonialism, genocide, occupation. While Palestine never existed as a sovereign country, it never existed except as a colonial entity. And the joke on the Palestinians that they actually claim to be indigenous of the land, fighting against colonialism, while they choose a colonial entity as their national identity. How pathetic is that?
Let's stop right there. I'll get back to more in a moment. Robert Spencer of jihadwatch.org. Is that not brilliant? Is he not brilliant?
Oh, yeah, that's terrific.
And can you comment on he said what's so pathetic is they claim Israel is involved in colonialism when it's really the made-up Palestinians that have come there and colonized.
Well, he's 100% right. There was no Arab presence in the Holy Land until the 7th century. And the Jews, of course, go back 2,000-3,000 years. And so the idea that the Arab Palestinians or the indigenous people doesn't hold up historically. They try to claim that they're the Philistines from the Bible or the Canaanites, but there's no historical or archaeological connection between the Arab Palestinians and the Philistines or Canaanites. The Palestinians as a nationality were invented in 1964 by the KGB and Yasser Arafat as a propaganda weapon against Israel. But you go back before that, you do not find mention of the Palestinians. In 1948, the United Nations was going to partition the land that the League of Nations had set aside for a Jewish national home and give half of it to the Arabs and half of it to the Israelis, to the Jews. And there were extensive debates and discussions about this, and not a single mention of Palestinians. The Palestinians simply did not exist. This is why this guy says he's an Arab, he's not a Palestinian. The Palestinians are not distinguishable and not different linguistically, culturally, ethnically, or religiously from the Arabs of Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. And so the whole idea of this nationality was created as an effort to change the narrative. In the 1960s, the world loved Israel because the people tend to love an underdog. And they were one tiny Jewish state faced off against 22 massive Arab states, 56 Muslim states that hated it and wanted to destroy it, and they defeated them. Now, once the Palestinians were created, then you have an even tinier people facing the giant IDF. And they've been able to gain the sympathy of the world through constant propaganda presented by the establishment media as if it were fact. But for all that propaganda, the Palestinian people still do not exist. They are just the Arabs of the region. The Arab countries of the region should take them in, and that would solve all the problems. But they do not do so because they want to keep the Palestinian refugee situation alive as a weapon to destroy Israel with, and they cannot allow for Israel even the size of a postage stamp because Islam does not allow it and teaches that every land that once belonged to the Muslims belongs forever to the Muslims, and thus even if Israel were the size of a garden plot in your backyard, they would still have to destroy it.
Yes. All right. Well said. Look at this headline from Jihad Watch. U.S. blocks Abbas, Palestinian officials from attending UN General Assembly, denies visas. This is good news, right?
Yeah, it's nice to have some good news now and again. And the Trump administration has noted that the Palestinian Authority under the president, the 88-year-old president Mahmoud Abbas, who's in the 20th year now of his 4-year term as president, he continues to fund terrorists. He uses the money that is given by the United States, by the European Union, by the United Nations as aid for the Palestinian people, and he pays it to terrorists and to the families of dead jihadis. And this is something that is against American law, to give any American taxpayer money to an entity that funds terrorism. The Biden administration ignored that law and continued to fund Abbas, and Trump has cut it off. And now he has gone farther and he says, you're supporting terrorism, you're not going to get a visa into the United States. So this is all to the good. Now we need to follow through and withdraw any kind of support from the Palestinian Authority itself on the basis of what I was just explaining and what Mossab Hassan Youssef has explained, that there are no Palestinian people. And so there doesn't need to be this entity to create a Palestinian state that would have no historical legitimacy, no ethnic legitimacy, no legitimacy at all. It's just a weapon in the jihad against Israel.
And do you think we're going to ever see the Trump administration declare Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization?
I would like to see that, but I'm not holding my breath.
Why?
something. Well, it's been on the table for over 10 years. We had Trump in office for 4 years before this. He's been in office for 6 months now. There's talk about it, but there's been talk about it for years. So I'm not going to break open the champagne, Brannon, until there's actually the declaration to this effect. But I tell you, I believe, unfortunately, that the Muslim Brotherhood is so skillfully infiltrated into virtually every level of the U.S. government at this point that they can stop this kind of a move, because they got too many people in high places and too many friends in high places who will say, oh, well, we can't do this. These are our good buddies that we have lunch with. And so it's not going to happen.
So you're saying the infiltration of Muslim Brotherhood is at the top levels of the government, even in a Trump administration?
Sure, that's right. And it's no mark against Trump. The American bureaucracy in Washington is massive. It's thousands of people. And so he talks about draining the swamp, and he's done an admirable job in doing that so far. But we should not kid ourselves. It's not as if he's in there and he said he's going to drain the swamp, therefore the swamp is drained. There are still lots of people in there in the U.S. government who hate him and are working against his program.
Yes.
And
one of his biggest supporters, Laura Loomer, is pointing this out.
There you go. And many of those people are connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, and they will stop the Muslim Brotherhood from being named a terrorist organization.
All right, in our closing minutes, talk to me about Florida and Texas. They seem to be falling. They seem to be falling to Islam.
Yeah.
And I think my state of Tennessee is in the crosshairs next.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt about that, Brannon. I've been in Tennessee many times, and you'd be amazed. Well, I don't know. I don't think you would, but I think that many people would be amazed at how deep the penetration is of Muslim entities in Tennessee. I spoke about, my goodness, almost 20 years ago now, I think 18 years ago, at East Tennessee State University in Johnson City. And we flew into Nashville, had to drive a couple of hours to get to Johnson City. As those who are familiar with the area will know, very sparsely populated area. We drove through areas where it was just forest and there were no towns, no people around. And we get to Johnson City, and I went to speak at East Tennessee State University, and the whole place is filled from the local mosque with Muslims who were ready with hostile questions to try to trip me up. And people don't realize that Muslims are in these rural areas, but they are in Tennessee and Texas and in Florida and elsewhere, because they want to turn the American heartland. So because they know that that's where most of the resistance will come to the implementation of Sharia. And so if they can get as much of a foothold as they can now, while nobody's paying attention, in the American heartland, in the so-called red states and so on, then they can prevent there from being any backlash from those areas when they try seriously to try to gain power in the United States.
All right. What else? So trying to get some positive here. How should people respond?
Well, we have to be aware, and there have been admirable efforts, particularly in Texas regarding Epic City, the attempt to create a Sharia enclave there in the East Plano area, that the people have to be aware of what's going on, to start to pay attention to the planting of mosques in your area, to the connections of the Muslim Brotherhood to the organizations running the mosques, to the connections to the Muslim Brotherhood of the people who are involved in operating these mosques, and to call attention of the local media to these things, to do everything that we can to shine a light on these organizations and these developments so that we can stop them. And the Muslim groups have done a terrific job in getting the establishment media to agree that it's all racism and Islamophobia and bigotry to oppose the buildings of mosques. And we have to just try to confront that head on and keep on raising the evidence in regard to Islam's supremacist, violent, and political nature, and explain to the American people what it will mean to be under Sharia in the United States, and that this is not crazy. This could happen.
Are you allowed to go to Europe? Are you allowed to go and speak in Europe?
Depends on the country. Yeah, I'm barred from Britain, but as far as I know, I can go to Europe any other place, but the invitations are not exactly rolling in.
And would you be at risk of arrest or fine if you spoke like you have today?
Oh, I think certainly, yeah. If I were to go to Paris or Berlin at this point, I mean, I've spoken in Berlin before, but that was 15 years ago. I think that now it would be very difficult, and that there have been native French and German people who have been arrested for saying these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. And so how long do you think we have in the U.S. to tamp this down?
Oh, well, there's really no telling, because these kinds of things can happen very quickly, Brannon. You know, you look at Britain and it's been quiet, and now suddenly, I mean, it's been quiet, but we've been calling attention to what's been going on there. And now suddenly there's a big debate, and people are really talking about how the government is not dealing with these issues. And there could be serious strife in Britain in the near future. And that I suspect that the same kind of thing will happen here. It'll go on for another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, with the Muslims quietly growing and increasing their representation, increasing their presence in political power. And then some people will say, hey, wait a minute, look at all this. This is not how America is supposed to be constituted. And then it might be, the problem, unfortunately, will be much more advanced than it is now, and much more difficult to deal with. And so, yeah, I'd say we have another 20, 30 years before it becomes acute the way it is in Britain now, and in other areas and in areas of continental Europe. But it is coming. As I said before, it's not as if they have a different version of Islam here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at this, folks. Jihadwatch.org, because as he said, this is a propaganda war. And he puts it out every day to help you understand what's going on and the propaganda and how to refute it. Jihadwatch.org. jihadwatch.org. Any other big story that you're paying attention to that we should have you tell us about? Of course, the Minneapolis shooting, I think that was the red-green axis. Islam, Marxism, kind of merging together. You want to comment on that? Anything else?
On his gun stock, the guy had written all these things, and one of the things he had written was mashallah, which is sort of like Allah wills it. And Atta, which seems to have been a reference to Muhammad Atta, the 9/11 hijacker. And so it's interesting to note that with his hatred of Jesus, with his hatred of Christians, and his hatred of Jews, he also loves Islam. And it's interesting how those things go together so often.
And yet Islam would not be friendly to an LGBT guy. This is how dumb they are.
Well, yeah, but you've got an entire organization that actually calls itself Queers for Palestine that is a bunch of homosexuals who think that they're going to make friends with these jihadis and not realize they're going to be thrown off the roof if they go over there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, this is what we're facing, so we got to educate, educate, educate. And folks, people are waking up. I had a guy in my community recently say to me, young guy with 3 small children, Brannon, he whispered quietly, are you concerned? There seems to be a lot of Muslims, a lot of women wearing the hijab. They're moving into our community. What's going on? This really concerns me. And I'm like, great, I'm glad you're concerned, but isn't it interesting that even here in the Bible Belt, where we don't have enough Bible under our belt, that the gentleman is concerned, but feels like, are you concerned? Like he's got to be kind of quiet about this, right?
How skillful the propaganda's been. People know, oh, it's Islamophobic to talk about this, so we better not say anything about it at all, or if we do, we'll do it in hushed tones and hope nobody overhears.
Yep. We better wake up, or we're going to be Great Britain in the next less than 10 years, would you say?
It could happen.
Yeah, these things, like you said, have a way of moving and moving fast. And then finally, are you anticipating any kind of major terrorist attack in the U.S. by Al-Qaeda, as Sarah Adams and others are warning?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. It's just a matter of when they're able to pull it off. And there were indications in the past that there were sleeper cells here who were just biding their time. And I don't know what they're waiting for. We don't know when they're going to strike. But I don't think here again that we should think that we're exempt. You want to see what the future of the United States is. Look at Europe. Look also at India. And India has a significant Muslim population, and they suffer periodic jihad terror attacks. The Hindu population, although it's much larger than the Muslim population, is subjected to frequent acts of violence. And this is what we're looking at for the future of the United States.
Folks, be aware, be alert, talk to your citizens, your pastor, your city council members, your sheriffs, your police chiefs, your neighbors. Community is going to be so important, folks, and your neighbors being on the same page with you versus them trying to get their head around what just happened. They need to already know, I know what this is, and I know how to respond, protect my community. Exactly. Robert Spencer, jihadwatch.org, jihadwatch.org. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this break. July 6, 2005. This is Tom Harper. Man figures plankton stopped his rare cancer. We got more of a response from this from our viewers than anything else you and I have ever discussed.
Tom Harper, 20 years ago, he had mesothelioma, deadly lung cancer, was given weeks to live, and he just intuitively started to eat the phytoplankton out of his fish tanks because he fed the phytoplankton to his shellfish. He was a shellfish farmer. And when he went in for the surgery, the surgeon came out of the operating room and told his family, I have not ever seen anything like it. The cancer is benign, and Tom Harper lived for years. He retired in Hawaii. We're not making any claim.
Here he is in his own words.
Started on a daily routine of just taking a bit of paste, putting it in my mouth, and wash it down with a drink of water. Within about 10 to 15 days, here I am, less pain in my back. I knew that something was going on, so I just kept eating half a teaspoon of this paste a day. I was booked to go for surgery in Victoria where they were going to do what they call a talc treatment. They went in there to have a look, saw something they never seen before, took 11 sites, sent them away for biopsy. I got the news back. Everything was benign. They just did not know what to make of it. Everything was absolutely clean. And I've tried dieting all my life because I'm a diabetic. If it's a coincidence or not, I don't know. My blood sugar started dropping. My weight started falling off. Here I am, no longer requiring insulin, and I was taking 88 units a day of insulin. I can eat just about what I want in moderation, and I have no elevated sugar levels, and I feel fabulous.
People, you hear the word cancer, and they want you to be instilled with fear. Cancer is nothing but a profound failure of the immune system. And what happened with Tom Harper is the phytoplankton is microscopic. It's God's microscopic food. And the Gatatiana is the most nutritionally comprehensive strain phytoplankton in the world. David Hunter studied phytoplankton for 20 years because he worked for Tom Harper and he was there in person and witnessed Tom's recovery. It's about getting pure nutrition inside your cells. And what happens, your body balances again or goes back to homeostasis. And when your body is pH balanced or in homeostasis, disease can't grow. It is literally microscopic, pure single cell plant food with protein and omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids, with amino acids and vitamins and minerals. 1 scoop a day. There's 90 billion plant cells in here just for everyday nutrition and energy and, cognitive support, because this is God's pure nutrition.
Go to melissahousegpa.com today. Discover the science and learn more about the wonderful benefits of Gattatana phytoplankton. That's melissahousegpa.com. melissahousegpa.com.
Joining me now is Commander. He was a Navy commander, but he's also a PhD doctor. Folks, I've been saying for a while, who am I talking about, by the way? Or get ahead of myself? Dr. Randy Arrington. Now, I've been saying to you guys for some time, I think we're involved in a civil war. And when I talk like that, some people look at me like, or maybe worse than that. They think that's crazy talk. That's irresponsible. Well, you'll know that my documentary Sabotage, which came out in December of 2019, had World War III and Civil War in the subtitle. And that whole documentary opens up with my friend Daniel Greenfield saying, we're in a civil war. And I started the documentary with that on purpose. because I believe we are and have since at least 2019 when I released that documentary. People say, wait a minute, there's no shooting. Well, as Daniel Greenfield says in my documentary, shooting, that's how a civil war ends. We're involved in a civil war, no doubt about it. I think World War III has already started. There's an economic war, there's a drug war, there's a border war. China is helping the cartels flood our country with drugs. In fact, I think I have a article up at worldviewreport.com today, if I can find it, talking about how China is working so closely with the cartels. It's part of World War III. Information warfare, drug warfare, economic warfare, border war, they're everywhere to bring down America. And it's internal, which in part makes it a civil war because some of these people are not just foreign, they're domestic. They're born here. They're part of the Civil War. And as you look at what's going on with California and the governor of California, who seems to be so pro-China, maybe even an agent of China, and they seem to want to run him for the White House. When you look at these mayors in these Marxist cities and their anarchy, that's how I would describe it. They have no love for the rule of law. And I don't mean the rule of law based on man, but I mean the rule of law based on the laws of nature, and nature is God, the moral decalogue, what makes us a constitutional republic. When you look at these governors and these mayors, they're anarchists, they're revolutionaries. And you look at what they're saying about, well, trying to get the drug cartels out of the country with ICE, the Trump administration, which I applaud. They're thwarting them at every turn. How is that not proof we're in a civil war? California is looking to push legislation that allows one piece of paper to be filled out, and it's moving quickly. We've interviewed Nicole Pearson, we've interviewed Jack Hibbs and others on this piece of legislation that I think is advancing there in California. One piece of paper signed, and someone can remove your child from school without your knowledge or permission, kidnap your child. All under the guise of health services, LGBTQ, abortion services, et cetera, et cetera. And then you get that child from any state into California. Now that's a sanctuary state for LGBTQ, for sex change, for abortion services. And within about 6 weeks, they can get your child's name changed and absorb them into the government system. The government of California doing that against parents of the country. If their trafficker or their much older boyfriend can get that minor child to California. That's what we're being told by lawyers. How's this not part of a civil war? Well, it is. And one of the men that's been warning about it is my next guest, as I said. He joins us now, Dr. Randy Arrington. Doctor, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
With you, and I love to hear the real truth.
Well, thank you.
That's what you get.
You agree with my comments? Is that what you're saying?
Well, on the back of my book, it basically says we are in a civil war, and I've been teaching that we've been in a civil war since Barack Obama was president. If you remember, a couple of weeks before he took over, he said we are about to fundamentally transform the United States of America, which doesn't need fundamental transformation. He also said we are the people that we have been waiting for. That's a Marxist buzzword, meaning Marxism has failed everywhere because the right people haven't been in charge. He said, we are the right people that we've been waiting for, and we're going to do this. And we are in a civil war, Brandon, absolutely.
And why is it that so few people realize this? Is it because they don't understand the philosophies and the ideas of the day, like cultural Marxism?
They don't understand it. They haven't been taught that. Now in the elite universities, you have Marxist professors. And I would hear them when I would teach at these different universities as a visiting professor in the faculty lounge saying how wonderful Marxism is going to be. And I tell everybody, Marxism only works in two places: in the faculty lounge, where those university professors dream of it, and in hell, where they already have it, and the condemned souls can't escape it. Marxism never works. My doctoral dissertation was on the failures of Marxism and communist Soviet Union. And so it never works, but they don't give up because these elite professors are brainwashing people. I changed that word brainwashing to mind rape. I know that sounds hard to hear, but that's what these professors are doing to these students. They are raping their minds with communism and Marxism, and they don't know any different now. So that's the problem. We have these professors that are drilling these young kids, and some of them shouldn't even be in universities. My doctoral dissertation chairman said, Randy, half the kids in school right now in universities don't belong there. Don't belong there. They should be doing something else, trade schools or whatever. When you get out of school from an elite university with a degree in whatever, you can't even get a job.
That's right.
So they're not doing these kids a favor. They're harming them. They're mind raping them.
Absolutely. My son, Logan, didn't go to college. I trained him in TV editing and everything at 17. He's now going on, well, he's 22 and a half. And these people that are getting out of college, his peers that are now getting out of college, could only dream of making the salary he makes. They'll never, many of them will never see the salary that he makes.
Exactly.
And yet they have a 4-year degree and tons of debt. And he's not overpaid. He's not overpaid. He's compensated for his skill set, what he knows, and he is I know I'm his dad, but he's a genius when it comes to television production and the science behind it and running these cables and where they go and how to make these systems talk to each other and how we can get, this guy to come in and be here with us and yet hear what we're saying and using live view units that send the signal up. I mean, the stuff he knows, right? And the server racks, the loaded up server racks, over $1 million in equipment in our 2 control rooms. And all this equipment has to be connected and talk to each other and bring up the graphics and the lower thirds and all that he does. Now, I trained him, and then he outgrew me very quickly. I don't know how to run any of that now because that's all brand new equipment. When he came on board and he learned, he started saying, well, we need this, and we need this, and we need that. This is the way to do it. This is what the big dogs use. You're going to run in that world, you're going to have this and that. I don't even know how to turn this. I mean, I can turn it on. I know where the button is to turn these machines on, but I don't know how to run them. He learned how to run them, and he trained a control room full of guys that know how to run them. And his salary, he makes a very good salary. Now, he's not overpaid, but he's compensated for his level of expertise. And his friends that are getting out of college, they probably will never, except based on inflation, they will never see what he makes now. Because in the 4 years while they were in college, he was doing on-the-job study training since his junior year in high school. And now here we are. And so I can tell you point blank, because I'm watching his buddies graduate this spring. They graduated. And they come home for the summer. Now they're all working their little jobs they've got. And it's disgusting to watch what they're being paid for 4 years of mind rape at the university. They got mind raped, and now they're working for garbage wages. And they think they're living the American dream.
Well, he's fortunate, doubly fortunate, in that he does have a wonderful occupation that earns him a nice living for him and in the future his family. But he also is part of a machine that is pushing out the real truth, not lying propaganda, which is what the Democrats do almost every day. They lie to the American people. And unfortunately, we have a lot of low IQ people who are susceptible to that type of propaganda and fear mongering. And I'm getting ready to write a script for another video where I talk about this is the new slave plantation. Your wages are, we give you welfare. And what you do for us as a slave is you vote for us every single cycle. And so he's fortunate. He gets to push out the truth. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people, Brannon, that don't want to hear the truth because it upsets their entire worldview that they have built their lives on for however many years they've been around. And that's the problem with these mind rape kids come out of college. They don't know the real truth. They think they do, but that's a real problem. They don't know that they have been told lies.
Wow. Well, let's go to a video that I pulled up over the weekend. Because even though it was the holiday and I was moving 6.4 tons of river rock, creek rock, I should say, in my landscaping. I was still doing some research, and I found this video, and I thought, oh, I've got to talk to somebody about it. And you're the man to talk to about it. Because I think this video is proof, one of the many videos, proof we are in a civil war. Watch what the mayor of Chicago had to say.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution.
Okay, so he's saying if he puts ICE and National Guard into Chicago to stop the murders, that he needs the folks of Chicago, I guess his cultural Marxist comrades, to stand up. So this language that you're hearing, and you're hearing it across the border in the Marxist governors and mayors. Is this not a call for civil war for them to fight against the federal government?
It absolutely is. And my contacts that I still have in high levels of government tell me that they're going to send those troops to Chicago by next Friday. And he could clean up Chicago like he did with Washington, D.C.
Are you saying this Friday or a week from this Friday?
Next Friday. A week from this Friday.
A week from this Friday.
Right from this Friday, that's what they're telling me. So usually my contacts are correct. They tell me the real truth. I can't divulge who they are, but I hope that's going to happen. And whenever I see people like this spouting all this fear-mongering, I think to myself, how do they get elected? I'm running for senator in Louisiana. And how do you get them to get elected? It's fear-mongering and propaganda. And those people that are on the slave plantation for the Democrats that have been there now since LBJ was president, when he initiated all those free programs that haven't changed the war on poverty. Poverty is as bad or worse than it was in 1964 when Lyndon B. Johnson launched that war on poverty. Why? Because they want to keep people in poverty, because those people beg for welfare, and then all they have to do is vote for the Democrats, and that's how guys like Mayor Johnson get elected. That's how they get elected.
I was going to play this video, but it's too much cussing. But it says, liberal white women are now calling for a civil war. Whoops, sorry, that's got the F word on there. Didn't mean to have that come up there. I just type in civil war into Twitter. And I mean, a lot of people are talking. They seem to want to go to a civil war.
Well, my volume 2 of that book, on the back cover, it talked about us being in a revolutionary war, but these are American Marxists, and they they're citizens of America, and they are fighting us in a civil war, and it is a bulletless civil war right now, but it could, I tell my people all the time, it could very well transition into a hot war where there's going to be fighting in your streets, and you better be prepared. Buy weapons, buy ammunition, train with them, train your children with them, your wife, whoever. Get them ready to defend what is theirs, because it could be coming to your neighborhood. Hopefully, it won't, but it very well could. And we are absolutely in a civil war right now.
Listen to this collection of comments by the loony left.
I don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
Why? Yes. He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
I don't even know what.
So they've been talking like this for a while. It's ramping up with some of them. Now you have the red-green axis, the red being the Marxist, the green being the Islamist. This transgender kid in Minneapolis, he's got Marxist stuff and Islamic stuff written on his clips. And I think he is a product of mind rape. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And if you study Islam and Marxism, and I've written about this, you're going to find out that Marxism and Islam are eerily similar ideologies. They are both brutally, they're dictatorships, and they're totalitarian, brutal totalitarian. They masquerade themselves sort of as a religion. Marxism, that religion, the God is Karl Marx, or whoever is the current prophet, whether that's Lenin or Mao or whoever. And of course, it's Muhammad in Islam, that is their God. And I don't know if you know this, but Muhammad in 578, he picked a God to be their God and called him Allah out of 360 other gods. Allah is the moon god. So he chose him. And if you talk about people that have been horribly mind raped, it's the Islamists, the Muslims. And a lot of them maybe be good people and want to just get along, but the radicals, they want to cut my head off. And I try to tell this to people all the time. When are you going to believe that that's what they want to do? As they're sawing off your head, they are brutal. And so is Marxism. Marxism will destroy everything that it comes in contact with. It has forever and ever. The only one that's in the only country really that is doing well in Marxism is China, and they are not doing well. Their economy is beginning to tank. That's why they're building up their navy, because they envision having to fight our navy in a war. And that might happen too, Brannon.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me show you what's going on in Austin, Texas, okay?
Here
we go. What do you make of that?
Well, that's what the Muslims do. They infiltrate into these Christian neighborhoods, and then they use terror, and they use birth rate, and they use murder to make that society subject to their chaos and anarchy. And eventually, I just wrote this today, I think eventually we're going to have another modern day Crusades type war against the Islamists, because they actually believe, Brannon, that they will rule, and Sharia law will rule the world one day. Guess what? Marxism believes they will rule the world one day. Again, another eerie similarity between Marxism and Islam. They think they're going to be the rulers of all mankind, with us being the peasants and them being the exalted ones on high. And trust me, you do not want to live in a Muslim or in a communist regime. You won't like it.
No, you won't like it. All right. So tell us about your book. This is part 3, right? Tell us a little bit about it, why people should get it.
Well, it's volume 3. When I was a visiting professor at UCLA while I was still flying for the Navy, if I had students that missed a class, say Tuesday they missed my class, they could go to the student store and buy my professor lecture notes, so they know exactly what I taught that day. I thought, well, how unique. I'm going to view that as a premise for a book. I'm going to publish my lecture notes as a book. And so if you read these 3 volumes, it is not written traditional style, paragraph, paragraph, paragraph. It is line by line by line, because it's the actual notes that I had in front of me at the lecture, at the podium, to deliver my speech or deliver my lecture. So it is the lecture notes that I do to give my videos, to give my students a lecture that they need. And it talks about, it teaches the real truth, not lying propaganda. And I get hit every week, or every day I should say, by the left. And the reason I called it a lunatic professor is because they call me a lunatic or a right-wing nut job. He's crazy as a bat. I just went with that, okay? If you think I'm a lunatic, that's fine. Read what I'm telling you. It's the truth. If you are able to understand and accept the real truth, that's what you're going to get. So it's on a variety of different subjects that happened during the writing of this. And the last one I wrote was called Transgender Terrorism in American Schools. And I'm getting a lot of the people on the right. Randy, you're absolutely right. We love it. People on the left are reaching out. They are so ugly to me. They're just saying you're crazy. That's not. You shouldn't say that about transgenders. I don't hate anybody, Brandon, but I think that transgenders is not a civil rights issue like the Democrats want you to believe, like it was in the 1960s. I think that the transgender issue is a mental health crisis, and we need to get these people the type of treatment that they need so that they can recover. And people say, Randy, you're hating on them. I'm not. I don't hate anybody. I want to get them the help they need. The last 9 shootings in schools have been by transgenders. I think one was non-binary, but the last 8 or 9 have been transgenders going into these schools and killing these kids.
Yep.
And are they on the what do they call those, SSRI, antidepressant drugs?
Yep.
What does that do to your mind?
100%. And we've been talking to Dr. Peter Breggin, psychiatrist Dr. Peter Breggin, about that for years, right? He was a New York Times bestseller warning about that. Before we wrap here, let me show you a little video, a few videos. Here are people getting arrested in the UK for displaying their own flag. I think you have to pull off the audio, so I'll talk while it plays.
Whoa, what are you kicking me for, boy?
I pulled the audio down because I think they're going to start dropping some F-bombs there. But here's a guy being arrested for what we're told by sources is, and he says, all I did was raise the flag. And they're arresting him. So raising the flag with the cross, the traditional flag there in the UK, is now getting you arrested. This is increasing. They're involved in a civil war over there already. And look who's helping carry it out, the police. And I have warned my audience for probably 15 years now, don't respect people just because they wear a uniform, military or police. I said, I get so tired of everybody, bowing down to somebody because they got a uniform. Who cares? There are some very corrupt people that wear uniforms historically. Let's see. We could go onto all the dictators that wore uniforms with their, medals and ribbons. Okay. Not every cop's a good cop. In fact, increasingly, a lot of the cops are not good at all because they were hired because they're bad. That's why they got hired. They got hired because they're bad cops, and the city council is woke, and they want bad cops, right? The good cops, they chase them away. They wouldn't stand behind them. They wouldn't back them up. So they deliberately hire bad cops, many of them today, because they hire people that will do what they're told. The guys that come out of the military, the people that are raised with traditional values, they're not going along with it, and they're leaving, right? And you're left with a bunch of drones who do what they're told. Many of them aren't qualified to be cops, male or female. And then then when they do bad things, it's on video, so they can then use their own bad cops they hired to further denigrate the line and the profession of cops. Because that's what Marxists do, right? Destroy the institutions, the long march through the institutions. So they know they're hiring people that will do what they're told, agitate, scare people into compliance, but also they'll do dumb things that can be used to denigrate the military, denigrate the police, right? The institutions. And I told people for years, don't respect someone just because they wear a uniform. Respect them because of what they do. Do they swear an oath to the Constitution, the rule of law, and are they following it? Well, over there in Great Britain, you can see there's a civil war going on, and the people that are behind the civil war, as I play another video, the people that are helping the civil war are the cops. But this is the long march through the institutions, right, Randy?
It is, and I think if that first video was from London, and London has a Muslim mayor.
Yep.
And I always talk, when I talk with Colonel Manus all the time, I usually say this one line to him. I don't know what mediocrity is or where you would go to find it, but I think you might have just hit it on the head. It's in a lot of these law enforcement entities that are hired. They're not advanced people. They're not great people. They're mediocre people that are told what to do, and they do it to get that check. They couldn't get a job anywhere else. And so that's the problem. And, like I said, you got this Muslim mayor in London, and the other guy, the prime minister, his name is Starmer. He's doing nothing but facilitating all this nonsense for the people of England. And guess what? The people in Great Britain are starting to wake up and are starting to realize we are in a civil war. And like I said, I think we might end up having to do a modern-day Crusades world war against the double evil of Marxism and Islam, radical Islam.
I mean, look at these young guys. I bet you if you and I could spend 10 minutes talking to these young cops, we would find out that they are not real bright fellas. Okay, they're going to come up here. I don't know who they are, but my guess is, look how young they are, which is fine. A lot of times cops are young. But my guess is if you interviewed these boys, you find out real quick they are not real bright people. And they don't know a lot about history and the ideas and the worldviews and the values and the rule of law, the laws of nature, nature's God. They don't know a lot about Oliver Cromwell, who they should very well know. They may know his name. And if they know anything, they've probably been told what a horrible person he was. We need more Oliver Cromwells in our culture.
I always tell people whenever I do a video or write something before I sign off, let freedom ring. God help us. And remember to always speak the truth and then endure those inevitable consequences. Because when you tell the truth in an era of massive deception, you are a revolutionary. And those people that believe those lies hate your guts. And I get it, Brennan, I get it every single day. And I tell people, look, I'm not really a politician. I'm a public servant. I have been my whole entire life. I just want to continue my public service as the senator from Louisiana. And I'm hoping that'll happen. But you got to realize there are a lot of, like you hit the nail on the head, there's a lot of low IQ people out there that are being hired into these positions of power. And all power corrupts. All power corrupts.
Yeah. And we could go all across the country here in the U.S. and show videos of cops behaving badly and being used by the Marxist mayors and governors. And praise the Lord for the good ones that are out there, but they're becoming fewer and further between in the red cities because they're hired on purpose. But the videos in the UK are really, really showing us that there's a civil war over there, and it's the government against the people. All right, I want people to get your book. Let me go back over here. There it is. Politics in America, Lecture Notes of a Lunatic Professor. And the reason it's titled that is because that's what the left was calling him, a right-winger, a lunatic. And it's his lecture note. And you can get it on Amazon. On Amazon. Politics in America. Just put in Dr. Randy Arrington. It'll pop right up. We need to get you back on more often. Glad you're here. And are you running for U.S. Senate or state Senate?
United States Senator against Bill Cassidy, who was actually censored by the Republican Party of Louisiana when he voted to convict Donald Trump in that second sham impeachment trial. He's not very well liked. But I'm the only guy in the race that is not a professional politician. There's like 3 or 4 professional politicians who will raise $60 or $80 million. I can't do that, but I'm doing a grassroots campaign. I meet people in real life. I hand them a card. I talk to them for 3 or 4 minutes, invite them to look me up on my videos online. And if you like me, please vote for me and pass the word. So, yes, I'm running for United States Senator. The election until next year. So I'm getting my name out there, and it's starting to reap benefits. I'm getting invited to speak to different Republican groups in Louisiana. That's really good for me.
Good. So, I'm glad to hear it. I am glad to hear it. Good for you. Randy, we look forward to having you back. And you want to give a website for your campaign, by the way?
You can go to my Facebook. I'm on my Facebook, and I'm on Twitter as well. But Facebook and Instagram, Dr. Randy Arrington. And, my name is actually Randall, but the only person, and I have to use that name because when you run for office, you have to give me your real name. And the only person who calls me Randall is my mother when I'm in trouble.
I knew you were going to say that. Randy. I knew you were going to say that. There you go.
Yeah.
Dr. and Commander Randy Arrington. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now, and we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview. All right, join me now with a quick visit is our friend Dr. Lana. Let's talk about the weight loss drugs. They're back in the news, and then let's talk about some of the benefits again to the phytoplankton, I should say, that I take every day, that I give Dolly every day. Dr. Lana, welcome back.
All right. Hello. Always a pleasure to be with you, Brannon. Always a pleasure.
You too. Talk to me about these weight loss drugs. They're back in the news. What's the latest you're hearing? And by the way, I heard blindness. Did I hear blindness?
Yes. And what's going on is they do a few things. They want to try to balance your blood sugar. They want to try to suppress your appetite. And what they do is they keep the food in your stomach longer than it needs to be. So they're finding after 2 years, 2.5 years that the patients are on them, their GI system is becoming paralyzed, if you will. And yes, we've heard all kind of awful, some reports of eyesight and things like that. But the core of weight loss, if you think about it, everyone, and by the way, I think you all know this, once you start them, you cannot stop because you'll gain the weight back. So the core of weight loss is really suppressing your appetite. Like, let's not eat too many calories, right? And if you don't feel hungry all the time and you don't want to snack and your appetite is in more control, then you're not going to eat you're not going to eat as many meals. You're not going to snack. You're not going to consume as many calories, and the weight comes off. It's really as simple as that. The reason I wanted to tie this into the phytoplankton, Brannon, is because a lot of people don't realize, and it's such a joy to educate you all about this, and you just need a shot a day. You don't even have to drink a whole glass. You just put one of those little tiny scoops in there and just shoot down the shot of phytoplankton every day, either the Gatatana or Tetrasod. But what the phytoplankton does is it fills your cells with nutrients, and it helps to balance blood sugar because it does that. It contains chromium, it contains trace minerals like vanadium, it contains omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids, proteins, amino acids, and it helps fill your cells with nutrition. So that does a couple of things. It also, because it's plant food, it's God's single cell pure plant food, your good gut bacteria feed on plant food, and that helps suppress your appetite. So you are not as hungry, your cells are getting fueled with nutrition, therefore your blood sugar is being balanced. Because these drugs want to just control your blood sugar, they want to suppress your appetite, they want to slow the dumping of food from your stomach into your small intestine, and you can accomplish the blood sugar balancing as well as the appetite simply by giving your cells pure, pristine, single cell plant food, which is the phytoplankton, because it's full of thousands of nutrients and it helps to balance your blood sugar. And it's feeding your gut health, your digestive system, your stomach with plant food. And that's what the good bacteria crave, is greens and plant food. So that helps suppress your appetite naturally without any drugs. We're not saying that this is a weight loss supplement at all. We're not saying that at all. But most weight issues go back to some form of malnutrition. And then you crave junk food and sugar and sweets and fried foods and alcohol and all that bad stuff because you have more bad gut bacteria. than good gut bacteria. So that phytoplankton helps feed your good gut bacteria that helps reduce your appetite and balance your blood sugar. If you do those two things, you are on your way to basically emulating these dangerous GLP-1 drugs in a very, very natural way that is not dangerous at all. Matter of fact, it's extraordinarily beneficial. Like every member of your family could take a scoop of the phytoplankton every day.
And I want to go to a wide shot. My beautiful Dolly is laying here. You guys want to do a wide shot? Will she show? There she is. It's a little dark in the studio, but she's there. I give her half a scoop a day on her food. And I'm reading more and more reports about how it's really good to fight off all that plaque and garbage on her teeth. Keep her teeth white. Have you been reading about that at all?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And here's the thing, everyone. Most of what's going on with Americans goes back to malnutrition. And again, I say that sounds so silly. We live in a Western affluent nation. Like, what do you mean, Dr. Lana? There's food everywhere in America, but it's not getting inside our cells and it's not whole plant food. Your body knows exactly what to do with plant food. So yes, it helps your bones, your teeth, because it is full of God's minerals naturally. One more important point about minerals, a lot of us are told, oh, take vitamins, take supplements, take extra this, extra that, extra vitamin C or D or E or extra supplements in general. Your body has to break those down. And in order to break down vitamins and most supplements, your body steals minerals from your bones and your teeth. So it's actually depleting the health of your bones and your teeth by when you have to break down like a multivitamin, for example. Your body doesn't know what to do with all that vitamin C, vitamin E, and vitamin D that's in a vitamin because it's not natural. So it leaches minerals from your bones and teeth to neutralize and metabolize those vitamins. And I'm not saying all vitamins are bad, but most people don't realize it's really tough on your bones and your teeth, breaking down these vitamins and added supplements, but not with phytoplankton because it's beautiful single cell plant food in nature. Nothing's added to it. So your body knows exactly how to break it down.
Yep. And this is why I take it every day. You guys see me drink it a lot of times at the desk. I give half a scoop every morning on Dolly's food. It feeds down to your mitochondria, boosting your own immune system to fight off all the bad things that are naturally in the environment, right?
Absolutely. That's why you heard, that we've told that story in the beginning of the man that had mesothelioma. We're not making any health claims, but he was eating like a teaspoon of phytoplankton a day. And all he was doing was fueling his cells and his mitochondria with pristine, pure, natural, comprehensive nutrition. And one of the first things that happened to him, although he lived, for many more years without, the mesothelioma, but one of the first things that happened to him was he was a diabetic. I believe he was a type 1 diabetic, and his blood sugar started to balance naturally with the phytoplankton. And the reason it did is because his cells were being fueled with things like the chromium, the vanadium, and all of the minerals and amino acids that it needs to help balance blood sugar. It was putting nutrition in his cells. And his type 1 diabetes, and we're not saying we reverse it, but in his case, that was one of the first things that happened was his blood sugar started to balance. Just a true story. No health claims, a true story. And my mom, it helped her behavior. It helped her be calm, and it helped her cognition be sharper. I have loads of patients that they take 1 to 2 scoops a day that have had all kind of digestive disorders, the bloat and all of that. In that program, we're going to offer a special September 5th to 25th, and we'll be sending out information, about that. But this phytoplankton is extraordinarily beneficial for gut health.
Indeed. All right. I want you guys to go there to melissahousegpa.com and get it and start drinking it. Look, we're in the fall now.
Yep.
So let's turn over a new leaf as we go into the fall. You see that little segue I just did there? And start drinking this every day like I do. Maybe you want to get your beloved pet on half a scoop. There is a pet product that's $20 cheaper. So we started ordering this because we're saving money. So I don't give her mine anymore. I give her her own pet product. but get your cat, your dog, yourself, your loved ones on this and tell me if after, let's say, 60 days, 90 days, if you don't see a difference. But I'll tell you, one of the things you're going to see is, I believe, for me, for Melissa, I can't tell you what's going to happen for you. We don't have the craving for junk food. Right. This weekend, my wife had to go pick up some things at a store. I waited for her up toward the front of the store. It was slow, and I just leaned against the wall waiting for her. And right next to the checkout was a rack full of potato chips, particularly one of my favorites, Doritos. And I looked at those Doritos, and normally I would be tempted, big time, thinking, oh, man, it's been a long time since I had Doritos, because I love Doritos, have since, high school, right? I looked at them, thought, yeah, can you imagine all the chemicals that are in those? I don't know. I'm assuming probably are, that makes them so addictive that you just can't stop, right? But I'm have to tell you, I don't have the cravings for the junk food since getting on Gatatana. That can't be a coincidence, right?
No, it's not a coincidence at all, because your cravings are linked to your good and bad gut bacteria. Your bad gut bacteria needs sugar, dairy, junk foods, all of the processed foods. That's what your bad gut bacteria or pathogenic gut bacteria feeds on. Your beneficial gut bacteria, guess what, my friends? Feeds on greens. It feeds on plants. So when you take a scoop of the tetrasalad or Gatatana every day, you're feeding your beneficial gut bacteria. You're reducing your cravings for all of that junk, because you are fueling your beneficial gut bacteria.
Well,
absolutely helps with cravings.
By the way, have you ever looked to see what's in Doritos? Have you looked?
Lot of chemicals, and they're fried. And if you ever I'm sure you can all YouTube it, like get your favorite junk food, or whether it's cookies or muffins or Doritos or potato chips. I had somebody do this with hot dogs one time, and you see how they're made in the factory, and it's like you'll never want to touch it or eat it again. So
are Doritos
the chemicals.
I think we know they're not healthy. But here's this website here says 7 reasons you should never eat them. And he goes on to list them. I don't see what they are. They're not healthy for you, as they are made from genetically modified corn,
GMO,
and are high in calories, fat, and sodium. In addition, they include artificial sweeteners, flavors, colors, and many unhealthy ingredients. So look at the ingredients. What are they made of? And he goes through this. So, oh my, here they are.
Chemicals, toxins, and then your body, wraps fat around the toxins. So those of you that want to lose weight, oh my gosh, pull out those toxins in the foods, pull out the processed foods.
Highly addictive. What? And again, you just explained why it's highly addictive. But literally, you get a bag and you can hardly stop eating them once you start. It's like a drug,
by design,
right?
By design.
Is a lot of this fast food designed to have the reaction on our brain, our body, like drugs, so that we just crave it and crave it and crave it and crave it and keep coming back? In other words, I guess, I don't want to get sued here, so this is my opinion.
Right.
My opinion is that they must be doing this on purpose. That's my opinion. They must be doing it on purpose to make us keep coming back. Is there any science to back that up?
Well, I'll tell you the science, and this is one of the most fascinating things is, and kind of a secret about maybe weight loss and health and your digestive system, is your stomach needs 2 things to say, okay, this food is okay. My whole body can use this. Your stomach needs to register nutrients. Your stomach needs to say, hey, there's receptor sites in there, and say, this is nutrition. Like I read, this is whole food. This is nutrition. Then your stomach's stretch receptor sites, your stomach needs fiber. It needs fiber and nutrition. So that's why when you eat an apple, or when you eat sweet potatoes or strawberries or blueberries or asparagus or whole food, it's fibrous and it's full of nutrients. So your body's like, I'm good. I don't need to eat 50 apples like you want to eat 50 Doritos, because your stretch receptor sites and your nutrition receptor sites basically in your stomach are satisfied. But if you have a whole box of cookies or a bag of Doritos or a bag of potato chips or a candy bar, you can eat a lot of that because there's very little, if any, fiber, and there's hardly any nutrition. There's no nutrients. So you can't, it's like, the potato chips, they say you can't just eat just one because your body isn't full. It takes about 4,000 calories of oil, for example, to fill up your stomach, where it only takes 200 to 300 calories of vegetables to fill up your stomach. And you're like, okay, I'm full. It takes about 400 calories, 500 calories of fruit to fill up your stomach, but it takes thousands of calories of bread and candy and potato chips and junk before your stomach's receptor sites say, okay, I'm full. That's why you could probably eat a couple bags of Doritos before you're really, truly full. There's no fiber and there's no nutrition in oil or all of that junk food. So that's one of the biggest tips and secrets I could tell you all.
So this is, really?
Absolutely. It's why you can't just eat just one, because there's no fiber and no nutrition in oils or all that junk food.
So this is why our bodies crave junk food.
Right. You have too much bad gut bacteria. That's why you need the phytoplankton every day. I mean, I kid you not, every single family member, no matter their age, should take a shot of this every single day. You're feeding your good gut flora so you could reduce cravings. You're also helping to balance your blood sugar. You're also helping to get nutrition inside your cells to fuel your mitochondria, which that's basically the brain and battery. Say the battery of your cells is the mitochondria. And your stomach has stretch receptor sites and basically nutrition receptor sites. And that phytoplankton hits, the right receptor sites in your stomach. And that's why you don't have cravings. And that's why you want more plants, you want more vegetables, because the more good gut bacteria you have, your good gut bacteria craves plants. Your bad gut bacteria craves sugar and salt and junk and oils and fast food,
And let me close with this. I've been wearing my glucose monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And my last 7 days, my average blood sugar, my average glucose was 106. But I've brought it way down from what it was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what yours is. Do you have any idea what yours is?
No. Usually I run 90s to maybe high 90s, but that's not bad at all. I mean, Brannon, and a lot of you that have maybe type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetic or even type 1, a lot of type 2 diabetics, they'll run like 150, 160, 195, like over 200, and that becomes the norm for them. And that is so really dangerous long-term for your eyesight, for your kidney health. Your kidneys control your blood pressure. Blood sugar is bad for your kidneys, bad for your eyesight. People start losing their toes and their feet. They get amputated because their blood sugar gets out of control. And it's very easily controlled. But yeah, yours is not bad.
Well,
honestly.
and I just started this, a month ago or less. And I'm learning what, how much sugar, like ketchup. Logan can tell you, I drowned everything in ketchup for years and years and years and years. And, it's like, do you want some ketchup with those fries or some fries with that ketchup? Because I just love ketchup. Woo.
Right.
Well, I had a bunch of ketchup when I got this glucose monitor with fries. And I'm thinking I'm eating very little sugar at this meal. And my blood sugar goes, boop. And I said to my wife, I didn't have, any sugar drink. I didn't have dessert. I had chicken, some fries. She said, yeah, Brannon, but the amount of ketchup you ate. I said, yeah, it's tomato. She said, it's loaded with sugar, that ketchup. I said, you're kidding me.
High fructose, yeah.
And high fructose, yeah. But she was normally buying also the healthy ketchup.
Sure.
That didn't have the glucose. but that's still got the sugar in it. So now I'm swearing off the ketchup. Other than just a little on a hamburger, I'm not like drowning my fries in it, because now I'm learning what, how much sugar I've really been taking in. And now I'm not
exactly. Right. All those sauces too, like all those dipping sauces and like ketchup. It's not just ketchup, it's all those other sauces. If you look at how much fat and sugar is in
barbecue sauce,
a tablespoon. I don't know about you. If I want sauce or if I want to dip something, I don't care if you're even dipping vegetables. You want the dip or you want the sauce. You don't just want a tablespoon of it. I mean, you want probably a half a cup.
Yep.
In one set. I mean, honestly, let's be honest, a half a cup or 3/4 of a cup. And now you've consumed like more fat grams than you should in like 2 days.
Yep.
In just a little bit of those sauces. And then you've consumed more sugar.
Yep.
So
you go to the barbecue place. You go to the barbecue place and you think, okay, I get some baked beans.
Some meat.
I get some baked beans and I like to get some chicken, right? And sliced chicken at the barbecue place. Because I'm trying to go a little bit healthier, not the pork. It's not really good for you. I get the chicken with some baked beans. And again, I think I'm being pretty healthy here. This is better than McDonald's, right? I mean, it's better than a lot of things I could order. And then again, I loaded it up with a barbecue sauce. And boop. And then again, I'm like, wait a minute. So I've really learned the last month how much sugar is in stuff by watching my own monitor. I think every American, in my opinion, should do this for a month.
Oh, you are so wise. And the other thing you should all do, get that monitor, get a blood pressure cuff. Oh my gosh.
Now I have one of those. And I have my blood pressure taken regularly. And you know what's here? You know what's interesting? Before I got on the glucose monitor, I get to feeling kind of cruddy. And I'd like, go get the blood pressure thing. Let's take my blood pressure. And my wife would laugh. Or finally she got irritated. Oh, gosh, really? Your blood pressure is fine. You have the best blood pressure of anybody I know. And she's right. So she'd go and she would take my blood pressure and it would be perfect. But I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling right. Now I know what it was. Hypoglycemia, right? And I've thought that for years.
Low blood sugar or high.
That I was like that. I thought I was like that for years. But I didn't have any proof. I just thought I was like that. But it's not my blood pressure. It is my low blood sugar, my blood sugar dropping. Mm-hmm. And then I would answer it with something to spike it, and then you're on a cycle, right?
You're absolutely right. It's that high, low cycle of yes. And you just start to not feel good. And you know what else, Brannon, is so simple with blood sugar and blood pressure and all that? Americans, almost 74% of Americans walk around dehydrated. Just drink good, still filtered water. Unless you have kidney disease, work with your nephrologist, but drink half your body weight in ounces of good, still filtered water. Nothing carbonated. Don't put fruit or anything in the water. Your cells run on good, still filtered water, not reverse osmosis, none of that. Most people are dehydrated. That has a lot to do with your kidney health and your blood pressure and, blood sugar. Stay hydrated. Like water, it sounds really boring, but it's incredibly healthy. And you want to talk about energy and being cognitively sharp, is stay hydrated. Water should be your first choice for any beverage. And like the iced teas or the coffee, make no mistake, I'm a coffee girl. Okay. I'm a coffee girl like you, Brannon. We love our coffee. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as, you can have a cup or 2 cups a day, nothing wrong with that. If you're healthy and don't have any, issues, but those are recreational beverages. Okay. Your teas, your iced teas, your coffees and all that, even the vitamin waters and all that. Those are recreational beverages. Water is your beverage.
Yep.
That's your beverage.
And that's where I got to plug real quick my worldviewwater.net, because
there you go.
You want to make sure you're getting those chemicals out of the water, the lead, right? The ammonia, the fluoride, all of that garbage, the pharmaceuticals that are in the water. Because that stuff is not getting filtered out of our local water, right, Doc?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. You could do a test. You could get like the pH strips. And I know the municipal waters run alkaline, and you think, oh, this is good, they're not acidic, but they add lye to a lot of the municipal waters to combat all the carcinogens and toxins. I know. You should look up your zip code and see how many carcinogens or toxins or chemicals are in your water supply. You know,
how do you do that? How do you do that?
You can just go and put your zip code in and just Google it, just like you can put your zip code in and see how many cell phone towers are around where you live that emit the 5G, you know, the horrible 5G cellular radiation. You can check your basically the health of your water in your city or in your town. You can also get the pH strips and just dip it in a glass of your city water. If the pH strip turns yellow or orange or red, it's wildly acidic. Like, do not drink it if it's yellow or orange or red. That just the pH strips, you can get them on Amazon. They're like $7 or $8, and you can stick them in your tap water. A lot of times they'll come up blue, and you think, oh, that's a good balanced, you know, pH. My city water isn't that bad. Just keep in mind, they typically add lye, L-Y-E. They add other chemicals to combat the toxins and the carcinogens. It's really sad in America. We have the water supply of some third world nations. There's so many chemicals, and you're right, pharmaceutical drugs in our water. So people, if you just start with your water, drinking good, clean, healthy water. We have antioxidant water in our house, and just what you're sharing with your system. It's really important. I mean, our bodies are 67 to 70% water.
Yeah, they are.
Think about
it. Okay, I just did it. mytapwater.org. I've typed in my zip code.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, containment count. Okay, I live in Collierville. So my containment is 43 is a containment count. Whoop, why did it do that? My containment account was 43 before it went away. Is that a good score? There it is. Is that a good score or a bad score? Violation count is 28.
Well, they should give you a range, and I know every city is different. All the counties are different, the way they measure it, but they should give you a range. You can see what's in your water. You can actually have it if you want to hire somebody to come out and test it. But they should give you a range of what is in your water, where your water is coming from. Is it coming from a local lake or a local river? Where's it coming from? That's why I tell everybody, a lot of the bottled water companies use some of the rivers in the United States as their water supply. They're terribly acidic. The water's terribly acidic. So you just have to do some research.
I had a guy on here the other day who is warning about blood clots from the BioShot. And he's gone around and he's done surveys of undertakers from all over the world. And he went and he spoke to some of them recently. We played the video of him speaking, and I interviewed him. Speaking to these undertakers, they're finding these humongous blood clots in people from the COVID shot. And he had been a virus.
Oh, absolutely.
He went on to talk about the fact that when they drain the blood out of a body as they embalm it, he said they're running the hose down the drain. And I interrupted him. I said, what? They're running the hose and draining the blood down the drain? They have a drain on the floor. I said, wait a minute. I would have thought that under all the strict laws we have, they would have had to contain all that blood and dispose of it as a biohazard.
Right, like almost like medical waste.
But you're telling me it goes into the drain? Now, if that makes it into our rivers and they're getting our water from the rivers, what on earth? There's no way that these waters are filtering out all of these things, which is why they have companies like worldviewwater.net. So what do you make of that in closing, Doc?
It's just, are we surprised? I mean, it goes back to, Brannon, what we always share with your viewers. You have got to, especially post 2020, hence your vaccination point right here with the blood. You have got to be a wellness advocate for your family. There has never been a time, and I'm not a big supplement doctor. You know me, even though I'm a board certified naturopathic doctor, I do not tout taking all of these supplements because your liver has to break them down and your kidneys a filtration system. But I am sharing that after 2020, there are a few supplements that are just non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got to protect yourself and your family. And some of the things you just said, I mean, the blood, the water, we have got to protect ourselves. We absolutely have to be our own wellness
You don't
advocates.
trust the government, do you?
Well, let's just say we have to be happy about the administration that's in there now versus, the administration that could have been in there. But as far as, and I think we've talked before on your show, Brannon, what RFK Jr. is doing with some of these three-letter, institutions, shall we say, in the government, that they're really trying to be transparent and putting Americans first and putting our health first. Because if you have an unhealthy country, you have a weak country, and we are not weak.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
Americans.
I appreciate the Trump
We need to be healthy.
administration. I appreciate the Trump administration. I appreciate what RFK Jr. is trying to do. But our government has a long history of lying to us and using us as guinea pigs. That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you want to be strong and you want to fight for your family and stay healthy.
And counter what they're putting in the system, what they're not taking out, what they're not monitoring. Because, folks, like you said, you have to be your own health advocate.
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. Start by boosting your immune system to fight all this off, which I think happens when I drink my Gatatana, that phytoplankton, MelissaHouseGPA.com, MelissaHouseGPA.com. As always, thank you, Dr. Lana.
Thank you.
Dr.
God
Lana
bless. Have a
checking
great day.
in.
Bye.
We'll be right back after this break.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab. And here, you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
All right, here's Dolly. Dolly's gone and gotten one of my tennis shoes. What are you doing? Why is it you always carry my tennis shoes? She doesn't carry, well, you know why she doesn't carry Logan's, right? It would kill her. If she stuck her, come on back up here. If she stuck her nose in one of Logan's tennis shoes, I don't think she would survive. That would be like a bioweapon. Come here, Dolly. We got to go. We got to call it a night. But come up here. Come up here and say hello to everybody. Did you have a good weekend? Yeah, you did. Yeah. All right. Glad you had a good weekend. All right. Hey, I want to go back to the picture I started out the evening with. Look at that. My beautiful wife, grandmother from this weekend sitting across from me. Should I tell him where we went to eat, Logan? I'm a big spender. Logan. Yeah. Should I tell him where I was when we took that picture? Yeah. I'm a big spender, folks. I took my wife on Sunday morning to Waffle House. That's where that picture was taken. You know what it cost us to have breakfast at Waffle House? $22.75. Some people are probably like, that's kind of expensive, but it depends, I guess, on where you live in the country. Other people are like, that's so cheap. Hey, you cannot chew that up and tear it up. You can carry it around, but you cannot chew the little shoelaces. No. $22.75. I'm a big spender. So I took your mother to breakfast Sunday morning. Hey, and then I moved rock the rest of the day. Did I mention I moved 6.4 tons of rock this weekend, Logan? All by myself. No help from Logan. But I didn't mind. I need the exercise. I got to stay in shape to keep up with my wife. All right. So that's our broadcast. If you want to, again, get on the regiment that Melissa's on, It's all there at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Hey, get registered for our fall conference coming up this fall. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. We have a graphic for that. It's all available at worldviewstore.com. There it is, worldviewstore.com. And if you can't be with us in person, then you can benefit from 50% of what we have to offer by streaming it. If you have a stream, and that's available through our vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Any membership, we'll let you stream it. All right, that's our broadcast for tonight. Roll the music. If you want to get a packet of our free business cards to pass out and promote us, please go to worldviewstore.com. Hey, Caleb, is he not in there? Last time I heard, we've sent out over 20,000 of these. Okay, what is that? That looks like J.D. Vance. Go to that one. That looks like J.D. Vance. That is not me. That looks like no, that's not me. That's not me. I never look like that. That AI that's a sin, Logan. That's terrible. Do that to your old man. All right, may God save America. Take care.